Thanks so much for joining us. This is MeWe Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Pacific Northwest and many online. Tonight is one of our online panels. We have not had a panel in several months, so getting back into the swing of everything. It's free to be here tonight, to listen, to learn, to practice opening your intuition. This is one of the ways that I have opened my gift so much more being here running all these events. So it's great for all of you that are here as well. It is, like I said, free to be here, sliding scale to ask a question of the panel. We're going to be introducing ourselves and then talking about the theme, and then we'll be answering questions from the audience. It is like 20 to 28 sliding scale, or $12 for BIPOC folks. And you can ask a question on anything. It does not need to be on the theme tonight. We'll talk about the theme for a while, and that may spark some of the questions that you have. A few things before we jump in, trying to think of, one is that it's a great opportunity to practice opening your intuition. As I mentioned a little earlier, it's great to learn from all that's asked and all that's answered, whether or not you ask a question. And before we start and answer questions, I'll say a little bit about how to honor you, how we can honor you, and how you can help us honor you in the way we answer. There was something else I was going to say, but it like floated all away. Let's see. We're going to be joined by a sixth panel member. That's my plan. Yeah. So I think maybe we'll just jump into the introductions, and I've mentioned that this is being recorded for those of you that are just joining. I'll put a little more information in the chat so you know what's happening tonight. This is being recorded. It's getting posted on YouTube. Yeah, just thanks so much for joining us, and panel members, thanks for joining. It's just been so long since we've all been together. All right, I went a different direction. I don't know what it was I was going to say. I'll probably think of it somewhere in the middle and I'll bring it back in. So we get to do longer introductions here at this panel. For those of you that have come to some of the other events, you get a couple of minutes or so to share about who you are, what you do. You can share about all the things you do, not just what you're doing tonight. If you have specials, feel free to talk about that. I'll be putting your contact info in the web again, in the chat again. And yeah, it's aimed to save talking about Lionsgate specifically, and we'll go around and we'll have a chance to share about Lionsgate afterwards. So yeah, just sharing about who you are and what you do. So we can go in the same order, and I'll time you. And if you seems like you're going, getting close to 2 minutes, whatever, I'll just do something like this, just to help you know to finish up. All right, so we're gonna go Crystal. I think then it's Tiffany Rose, and then Siren, and then Galactic Ashley. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Crystal Novak. I'm a psychic reader, conscious channel, and energy worker. Been doing this work of service for a little over 40 years. Part of my background was being part of a meditative study group for 35 years that met weekly, and it was a channeled class. Ruth Craig channeled Master Katumi, who taught us lots of different stuff. So that experience, education, practice, insights, and my own personal growth through those classes is also reflected in the work that I do. I receive information from source, and that can show up in any different manner. It can be passed on loved ones, ancestors, angels, masters, teachers, guides, messengers, your higher self or my higher self, whatever spirit deems is the most appropriate access in the moment is what I get fed and tapped into. So looking forward to be part of this panel this evening. Lionsgate is very auspicious, and so it's great to be a part of this and kind of help open the gate. Thank you.
Oh, you're muted, Lorelei.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Yeah, great to have you here. All right, Tiffany Rose.
Hey, everybody. I'm intuitive Tiffany Rose, quantum soul guidance and galactic astrology practitioner. Amongst lots of other titles, I am a channel Reiki grandmaster on many different modalities of Reiki, intuitive coach and teacher. I'm also the founder of Galactic Mystery School. So if you're interested in learning about galactics and channeling and emotional intelligence, health and wellness, there's a really well-rounded education in there for anyone who's seeking deeper in their spirituality. I'm so excited to be here with all of you on Lionsgate. Tomorrow is my birthday. I was actually born on 8/8, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we go into the Lionsgate stuff, but so grateful you're all here. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. Siren.
Hello, everyone. I'm Siren. I work with frequency, sound, tone, and light code, light language, and also with intergalactic information, geometric templates, and varying tools, art, and frequency, sound, tone, and light albums to shift, clear, activate, and release energy. So various modalities, one-on-one, through sessions, through events, through group sessions, through tools such as art, high frequency art, releasing, clearing, opening, activating, and I'm excited to be here through the vast open gate of the infinite and with all of you and see what comes through. And thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for doing shorter introductions today, all of you. Sorry, if you want to share more, we can come back and do another round too. I'll get your information in the chat again also. All right, great. Galactic Ashley's next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's been a while. I'm glad it's not just been me. It's Lorelai, too. So I am Galactic Ashley. I am here with Mahana and Mayu, my little dragon counterparts. I'm here to help others build resilience so that they can move through fear, embrace differences, and create something paradigm shifting. I dedicate my life to embodying radical personal accountability, relentlessly pursuing personal growth and mastery of experience. And it is from these experiences where I hold a clean, integral, and safe learning space where I teach and channel, inviting all parts of everyone to be divinely held so they can explore their belief systems and feel witnessed and loved. I do this through one-on-one sessions and through coaching. I have a real passion for helping people to integrate peak experiences, whether they are near-death experiences or psychedelic experiences, particularly with psychedelic experiences, helping to during the preparation and integration processes. And I teach 3 9-week courses every year. And my next one that is coming up is called Sovereignty and the Sacred Art of Channeling. And yeah, so I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Galactic Ashley. Great to have you. And I anticipate they're also going to be joined by, and if you're here in the audience, let me know, bring you up here, Brianna Anderson, who does Reiki energy healing. I've got her information in the chat too. And then I'm Lorelai Shmayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. I read your eyes. Eyes are a window to the soul, and I answer questions about your soul, your path, your purpose. It could be your career path, your relationships. Have you shown me photos of people in your life? And I love to use this work for matchmaking. So I think their eyes are also the window to our soulmates. I have a drop-in group that you're welcome to join. It's by donation the first time, and then I have a drop-in price and a price where you can come for 3 months as many times as you want. It's turned into a really great group just for people that are interested in all kinds of growth, because so many lessons come up in the process of dating, and I love going deep with people and helping them over time. So great journey. My information's in the chat too. You can find more about me at matchmakingsoulmates.com. Maybe before, well, let's see, does anyone have anything they want to share just about, do you want to share anything else about yourselves before we jump into the theme? I know like one of you might have a course coming, or yeah, go ahead, jump in.
I always end up talking really fast during the introductions. I don't know why I do that, but just a little bit about galactic astrology. If you have your chart pulled, it can indicate so many different things. First of all, we start looking at your soul origin, like where did you originate once you left source? And that can be dozens of different answers. And then going into your soul mission. Lately, I've been doing a lot of energy clearing. Any of us and most of us here with higher vibrations have been attracting some of the darker vibrations. And I've been clearing a lot of that. A lot of beings that didn't need to be here on Earth. I don't know what else. I'm just talking.
All right, great, thanks. Yeah, anyone else want to share anything else? Do you have courses that are coming up or anything like that? Just optional if you want to. Okay, great.
I
All right,
have another one if you want. We're
go
going to be
ahead.
starting clearing the victim veil on August 27th. And this is going to be a 4-week course where we meet once a week, and really going into some of the shadow work and how to lift that victim veil. It's this first round is going to be for women, and then we're going to do a round for men coming up. So if that's something that interests you, reach out if you're a male that wants us to do the victim veil. But for now, we're focusing on women for this first one, and it's all by donation. So if you want to be there, come.
And I have a question for non-binary folks. Where do you want them to join?
That's a good question. The reason that I was given, as far as segregating or making it co-ed, was just that if women had sexual traumas with men. Now, I'm not sure how that would work. I think it would be based on the person's comfort, whether they feel more in line with being with women or men. Whichever one you feel is most appropriate, come, we'll welcome you.
Great, great. Yeah, anyone else? Anything else you want to share in terms of just intros before we? All right, great. We are going to move to speaking about the theme. I'm going to just read what we have in the Facebook event. Yeah, so I only know so much about Lionsgate. We've done this at least a couple years at this time. And so some of this is pulled from those other events. So every year around the 8th day of the 8th month, August 8th, there's a cosmic alignment called the Lion's Gateway. At the Lion's Gate, there's increased cosmic energy flowing between the physical and spiritual realms. The Lion's Gate, with ties to ancient Egypt, has been observed and honored as a time of great energetic influx and activation for thousands of years. At this time, there's an alignment between the Earth and the star Sirius. As Sirius rises in the sky, Orion's belt directly aligns with the Pyramid of Giza, and from our perspective on Earth, it appears that Sirius, the brightest star we can see, comes closer to Earth. The star Sirius, which represents abundance, harvest, and fertility, is twice the size of our sun and 26 times brighter. It's a big source of spiritual light on the inner planes. This alignment is called the Lion's Gate, or Lion's Gateway, because it occurs when the sun is in the astrological sign of Leo, the lion. As a zodiac sign, Leo is associated with the heart center and represents the individualized expression of the divine. All right. Well, that's what I have pulled together from the theme, but we make it whatever it is. Yeah, 888. It's great. And yeah, so
Infinity.
yeah, it's great. So I'm fine with jumping in. We can kind of start in the order we were before, or if you want to pass, we can go in whatever order we want just to talk a bit about the theme. And again, when you want to ask questions, audience, you can ask questions about something having to do with the theme, or it could be anything. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't mind going first unless you want to go in an order.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mine's real brief as far as the Lion's Gate. The one thing this year that I've been, absorbing and hearing a lot about is that as the sun, which is represented a little bit more masculine, comes into alignment with Sirius, which is more feminine, we're having a merging of the divine masculine and divine feminine. And it's a time for really going inward, transcending ego. And I don't mean getting rid of your ego, recognizing what's you, what's spirit, where all of these things are coming from, but going deeper into that inner child work where you're looking at your childhood, examining your programs, looking at what you were taught by your parents, school systems, peers, everything, and really finding you. What parts of those things do you believe and align with? And the rest is ready to just fall by the wayside. So the big theme that I have been hearing and feeling this year is just a really big time for transformation, and that being personal transformation.
Great. Anyone else want to jump in and share?
Well, along with this huge gateway that we're in, there's been a lot of and consistently too, varying lineups of different systems with the pure energies that are coming through and to the earth that are being anchored in. So we have that magnified, is magnifying this gateway and the infinite potentiality to shift and transform, like you were saying, anything into anything. It's just like if you look at, for example, art is creating anything from nothing and layering something else into something else, and then layering another, element or subtracting it, and it shifts it into something else, and on top of that, alongside that, parallelly that, with all of the energies that are present, we also have all these assistances with these wide open gateways from other realms, which are magnifying, amplifying, and offering all of this, I mean, pure intentioned light to unify everyone back, firstly, of course, and well, parallelly, simultaneously with themselves, but everyone else. So it's like this huge potential right now to go beyond what has ever been imagined and stand in oneself and unify with all others. So it's pretty monumentous. Even star systems we don't necessarily maybe know about or don't have names or aren't talked about, everyone's here assisting all of us everywhere on all planes. So it's exciting.
Great, great. Yeah, anyone else want to share about? Yeah, and if anyone has any general questions about Lionsgate, not a personal question that you would ask the panel, feel free to let us know about your questions about Lionsgate.
And the beings are over here joking around. I wrote down the word purification, and when I looked at it, it said purification. So they're just sort of joking about the lions aspect of it. I just thought it was funny. So one of the things in the lion slash lyran beings, so even lyrans are involved in this. It's not completely limited to the Syrian beings. Is they like to say like this is a time for the courage of the pride, right? So lions come together in like a pride of sort of beings, and so it is a time to connect to a lot of times like your courageous self when you are looking at things. And I find that for my personal self, I end up doing a lot of massive integrating during the summertime. I think oftentimes we think about doing deep work or going into the subconscious as more of a winter thing. And it's also a winter thing because it's almost more easily accessible in a lot of ways because it is darker for those, at least for those of us that are in, well, wherever winter is. And for some of you, it might be winter right now. But it's this sort of, it offers us a cosmic sort of fire for alchemical transmutation and purification. And to remember that like you can activate sort of your courageous heart. So this might be a time, and I know Tiffany just mentioned, she mentioned something about inner child healing. Like if to remember that you're not alone, so that when you are looking at these things, like you do have support and you do have, whether they're angels, guides, whomever you are working with to help you sort of look at these things. So the beauty of sort of having light and these energetics that are available is that it kind of becomes a spotlight that we can kind of shine on things, and it becomes an opportunity to kind of really feel. I feel that when gateways open and when solar flares are really active, we're being given the opportunity to sort of like test what it would feel like to be full time in more of a fifth dimensional or quote unquote new earth experience. So a lot of times the reason why things come up and things feel intense and everything feels crazy is because we can't exist in a higher vibrational energy when we're still holding on to a lot of lower vibrational belief systems. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's just a part of any type of transition, this like letting go, trying on new belief systems. And so there's a real beauty in these processes that are kind of like made available to us. And I also feel that for those of you that do align with being a Syrian, part of what Syrians are here is they're sort of holding, I mean, Syrians among many other beings, is that they're holding sort of like memory, like original memory before things sort of were I want to say like the planetary brain, but they're kind of like holding a higher brain for the earth plane. And they talk a lot about something called like holographic geographies. So sometimes when we look at history and feel into history, it's not quite what we necessarily remember it. So I always invite people to journey back into a time, whether it's your time or a previous time or a past life memory, so that you can kind of, you know, see what is there and what is true for you and what can you experience. So this is also a really beautiful time to access past lives, because really all information is available for you, because we all have our like divine inheritance, and it is our birthright to have our own memories, and to remember how things were, not to remember how we were told things were. And for, you know, this works with colonialism and everything else, like who's writing your history. And you get to kind of go and look at that, and these are like really opportune times to kind of do that work. Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Great. Yeah. Crystal, if you want to add anything, or you go ahead.
I'm probably going to echo a lot of what's been said. Excuse me. So our sun is aligning with its spiritual counterpoint, with the spiritual expression of the sun, which is Sirius. And as the gates opened, as been mentioned, this light is coming through with the focus of allowing for transformation. So we are literally going to be illuminated. That is what the sun does. It illuminates things. And it's centered on the heart. So this is an opportunity to clear stuff that keeps your heart shut down. And as is mentioned, it's a good place to like go within and look at your history, what stories you're still telling yourself, the accuracy of what you're telling yourself, inner child work. And it's being receptive. It's the divine feminine. The divine feminine principle, feminine energy is to be in a place of receptivity and to allow this stuff to come in, for healing, for courage. So if you've been reluctant to take that next step, or if you're not quite sure and you're afraid perhaps, or anxious about stepping up and being seen, Lionsgate is a great opportunity to make yourself visible to yourself and be comfortable with being visible. It's courage. That's what was talked about as well. It's the courage to become who you are without apology, without having to defend it. It's your innate God nature that's opening and becoming more potent, and more available. And as we do this, we are then anchoring more of the 5D energy into the 3D, which is part of the purpose of what's happening on the planet, which a lot of us are supporting, is to bring more of the 5D in. And that will help heal the divine masculine as well. So great time to set an intent. What would be your intent if you wanted to do some healing work on yourself? What is something maybe that you've been a little reluctant to embrace or look at? This is a great opportunity. When the light comes in, everything gets lit up. So a great opportunity again to look at those parts of you that perhaps have been exiled, or you're not comfortable with, or you want to make peace with. This is a great opportunity. And it's 8/8. I mean, it's not only August 8th, but August 8th, if you add it up, it's 8. So it's very potent this year. And that's on a for purpose. It's for purpose to make it available so that we as beings here helping to move and create our spiritual transformation to our next evolutionary place, this light is available for us to help be able to do that, to continue on with the purpose of why we came here. So thanks.
Great. I know for me, this has been a really intense time. Maybe I could look at it as though I've been like resisting some lessons. And so I just feel like I've been getting like squeezed through, or like my extra snake skin is just getting peeled off me. Like I have no choice. I waited too long and it's, they say a little harder than it might be. And I think about politics and all the things that have been going on and like the decisions just, a couple and a half weeks ago, and how long it took and how hard it felt, and like, and just the shift of energy that's happened since then, and how the whole field, it seems like, has changed. Just different dynamics. And so, yeah, it's just a time of all kinds of transformation. So we're each going through our own personal version.
Mm-hmm.
Anything anyone else wants to say about the theme? Yeah, go ahead.
May
Oh,
I-
and Siren, just too, if you could weave in at some point, I know that you've mentioned to me that you choose different artwork for each panel, and I'd love if you could talk a little bit about how you chose the one that you have now. And yeah, go ahead. And
Sure, absolutely. This particular piece, when in the first intro, I don't believe it was in the second intro, but I was talking about the books that I've created. I write high frequency poetry along with the art. So, the particular intention that sparks the piece ends up becoming a poem, but they're created simultaneously. And this one's called Light Orb. And it's essentially the reflection of you is the reflection of me, and then it magnifies outwardly into orbs of light. And to me, the sun is the illumination of the magnifier, like it magnifies everything, being Lionsgate as our topic. And of course, yellow, orange, and shades of pink. It signifies light magnified, which is reflecting to all others the magnification of their own soul essence, really. So that's why I selected that one. Yeah, when I do a Zoom call or a remote call, I select the piece based off of what the energy is feeling like, or say, for example, the theme or who I'm working with. So that's why I selected that one. But I was going to say, as far as the 8-8, and being this wide open gateway, this infinite potentiality of a vast abyss, we also have, that you were saying the sun as a magnifier and these other beings as assistances. We also have all these different layers wide open, all these, you say that, the Lion's Gate, the gateway, but we have all these layers completely accessible, which we always have. If you look at Day Out of Time, all and nothing simultaneously exists. Like we have that all the time, but this is a reflection reminder of the light that we are, and the magnification, the potentiality of setting those intentions, because it's so wide, as it's always been, to really connect again with ourselves and each other. So it's amplified to me, beyond the eightfold of the eightfold is to the infinity of the eightfold, because of the intensity of returning to our pure state. So that's what I wanted to add.
thanks. Yeah, anyone else about Lionsgate? And anyone in the audience, if you have some general questions about Lionsgate, general questions about what we've been sharing about, please feel free to write in the chat or raise your hand. You can unmute now and ask before we get started with the deeper questions.
There was one question in the comments that was asking about the shadow work. Is it okay to share about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. I didn't see it.
That's okay. I think it was sent directly to me. So
Okay.
I'm new on the whole Zoom chat thing. So shadow work. This is a good time to just share a little story about Lionsgate. When I was born, My parents were very extreme devout missionaries, not just your standard Christian missionaries. They were Jehovah's Witnesses. So they are the ones who go and knock on your door. They don't celebrate holidays. They don't believe in any other religion. I was born at home. Just think little house on the prairie. My dad literally built the cabin, and my brothers and I were born there. Knowing that my parents don't believe in or didn't believe in other religions, I was just flabbergasted to find out that my father coincidentally hired a Buddhist midwife to birth me on the Lionsgate portal of all times, outside Oming as I was being born. And my dad snickering, like, what's that lady doing? You know, he thought she was just totally whacked. So as far as shadow work, being born to a super religious family, I was taught so many things that were not true. And when I grew up into my 20s, actually in my mid-teenage, I was like, that's not true. That's not true. They're hypocrites. Like I could see through everybody. And I thought that I was the weird one. Like, why don't they all see that? So as an adult, I ended up in my late 20s going to college and studying all of the world's religions. I studied with the Jehovah's Witnesses for a year and a half. They came to my house every week. And this was part of shadow work because I needed to know, do I or don't I believe in what I was taught as a child? Do I believe in my father's religion or not? Well, when they couldn't convince me of their version of God, which the couple that came to my house, I mean, she was just flabbergasted that I didn't believe in her little man in the sky the way that they illustrated it. Well, you have children. How can you not? So I had to go through all these different processes to peel all these layers of what I was taught and figure out, what do I believe? And that's part of the shadow work. One of the other things, really quick, when you're doing your shadow work, pay attention to your triggers. Your triggers are pointing a light to something that's older and still in your body. One example is I was terrified of dogs. My whole life, I'll cross the road and I will not come in your house if you have big dogs. And I couldn't figure out why. No memories whatsoever. And finally I said to my mom, what's the deal? Why am I afraid of dogs? And she says, well, when you were 4 years old, you witnessed your brother be bit by your grandparents' dog, my very sweet Buddha brother. So I have no memory of this. So my point is, follow your triggers, go ask questions innocently and curious to your family members, anyone who can paint a picture for what you had going on, and start there. Write down your triggers and then follow them as far back as you can into your early life. Once you see it, I have made friends with dogs. The last 3 dogs that I encountered, I felt so much love for them and I pet them and I wasn't scared. Once you can see where it's coming from, that's when you can dissolve it and move past it. All right, enough about that.
That's great. We had one general question come in the chat. Is there anything that we'll be doing on 888, a ritual, meditation, or intention setting practice, or anything like that? I was just, thinking about it just today that it's so close to my anniversary with my partner. So I'm going to be gone on our anniversary. So maybe we'll celebrate tomorrow instead.
I will actually be on another event tomorrow night with a guided meditation, and it's all Lionsgate celebration. So if you want to come to that, just find my Facebook page, Intuitive Tiffany Rose, and the links are there.
One intention that I do on Lionsgate, I have a daily meditative practice, but when it's an event where planetary astrology lines up, or depending on what creates the event, I cleanse, I clear, I sit, and then I ask for guidance about how this energy can serve me and what can I do with this energy to help serve myself. And also in response to like the shadow work, again, it's such a great opportunity to pay attention to what we tell ourselves, which I think is kind of in alignment with what Tiffany was sharing about challenging what we were programmed when we got here. When we get here, we're basically a little brainstem and not a whole lot else. And we're totally reliant on our caregivers. And in a way, they're like our tour guides. It's like, okay, tell me what's going on here. I need to learn the ropes. Tell me what I need to have. And we rely on them for instruction about how to be safe, um, and all kinds of stuff related to that. If you're growing up with caregivers who are not emotionally healthy, you're going to get told a lot of stuff that's not true. But when we're that young, we don't have any discernment yet because our logical brain has not come online yet. It takes a while before we can get that level of cognizance and recognition, and as well as having some more adult experience to have a way to step back and look at some of this stuff. So because this directly imprints on the primitive brain, when we start going within and doing this shadow work, sometimes our mind gets a little frenzied because now we're challenging the prime directive, if you will. We're challenging all the things that we got told we needed to have in order to say who we were. And if it's not true, then we have this tremendous schism about, well, who do I believe? I mean, these are my caregivers. In a way, they're almost like gods. We can't do anything that they can do. And so they have a huge influence on our beliefs and what we get taught. But at the same time, we're growing, as Tiffany illustrated in her story, about challenging those beliefs. And it kind of comes to loggerheads. It's like, I'm challenging this, but at the same time, I'm afraid, what if my caregivers were right? What if I'm not worthy? What if I don't deserve? What if? And it continues to create that anxiety, that schism. So part of what you can do with Lionsgate tomorrow, or you can even start today if you'd like, but if you are focusing on wanting to do it tomorrow, get into a meditative state, breathe, let yourself come into present time, and ask for healing. I want to heal that which no longer serves me. I want to heal that which keeps me from being my authentic self. I want to heal what stops me from speaking my truth. Now, your truth might not work for anybody else, and that's okay. We're all individuated. A lot of stuff lines up, some stuff doesn't line up. But the point is to be able to experience ourselves in that way. And it creates a great deal of self-love and a great deal of compassion for ourselves. And in turn, when we have that experience, then our vibrational level shifts as well. And now we're presenting that vibration back out into the world. So others are impacted by that vibrational rate. And others also go, wow, if you can do that, that means I can do that. So when we step into our authenticity, it gives everybody else permission, if you will, to be able to do the same. So that would be I'm always committed to my own interpersonal work and working on shadow stuff. So that's what I tend to use Liongate for, is illumination. It's the sun, it's life force energy, it's spirit, it's coming through. So that's how I would answer that question. Thank you.
That's great. And Crystal, you should totally see the notes that are coming in the chat as you're sharing. Daniel's got a general question.
Sure, thank you. Is the volume okay? My mic okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. I've only heard of Lionsgate recently and only through MeWe events. So it presents it gets my attention in this way because my own personal history is starting in the 70s. I've just been a voracious explorer of what I call maps of consciousness. Like, what are the different ways we make sense of the world in deeper levels, like astrology, numerology, tree of life, all of these different, nature rhythms, seasonal ceremony, all the different ways that people kind of map out this infinite reality we're in. And like literally, I read my way through a metaphysical bookstore in the 70s. Like I went through the entire place as part of my getting on the path of the journey. So learning of the Lion's Gate really catches that part of me that's the researcher. It gets my attention because I go, I've thought I had at least heard the tags of everything to this point. Not that everything needs to be personally relevant to me, but it's part of me, my soul, that wants me to understand other people's frameworks of reality. And I'm wondering, yes, I do get that there's an ancient Egyptian connection, which they're a powerful past life for me. But I'm kind of mystified. How has Lionsgate, it seems like it's only recently become popular as a framework of reality, even though it may pre-exist? Or is that maybe just a personal, wasn't time for me to learn of it, or any perspectives on that?
I'm just putting articles. I'm just looking for articles. I just threw stuff in the chat for you. Yeah, anyone else, anyone want to answer, want to respond to that? I mean, it's been important for thousands of years, and we have, as our culture, we have forgotten so many things that used to be important to us. So that's one thing I'll just say. So many things that we have forgotten, ignored, decided aren't important, that were realized that they were important long ago. Egyptian culture definitely is a bunch of those. But yeah, any of you want to jump in on the panel?
I was gonna say that's a really great question. Who I have no idea who first said Lionsgate and when it became popular. I just am always happy when things become popular because I find that the more that sort, I mean, sure, maybe not everything, but most things, particularly spiritual things, I think that, like, for example, the day, not Dia de los Muertos, but around that time, it when it enters into more people's awareness, and then the belief system like becomes amplified, so it becomes easier to grasp, I feel, for like a lot more people. And there's a rhyming 8 Lionsgate, right? So then it becomes like kind of one of those things. And I like when anything is sort of related to like another opportunity for a new year. I guess if your name is Tiffany Rose and you were born on a Lionsgate, then you're sharing a double new year. At least for me, I have the spring and I can like try again. And then when Lionsgate rolls around, I can try again. I can just keep hitting the reset button over and over. But I think it's a really great question. And it kind of makes me curious to see kind of who maybe repopularized it. But I also like what you said about like maybe it wasn't time to know about it. I don't even know. I don't even, it's not, I mean, I went to a Catholic school. It's not like we were celebrating the Lionsgate. So I don't know. But yeah, I love that question. It's a very Daniel question too. It's a good one.
I know one of the practitioners we've had on the panel previously visited Egypt, and so she has some connection with that trip and the meaning for her and timing, but she's not here today. She's busy doing something else. Diane shared, I've known of Lionsgate my entire life. I also understand it from Egyptian folklore. Although I understand the time is referenced as a different ceremony, I can't recall the name, although I'll look it up. Yeah. And I found a Lionsgate that's a physical structure. That's a different thing. That's in Jerusalem.
My supposition that I'm working on right now is that it existed in seed form as far as broader consciousness, that the time is more now where it has broader service to people because there's so many advanced beings being on the planet who need help remembering who they are. And that, so it's just because of the transitional times we're in that it's more broadly relevant and more appropriate to mass communication versus mystery schools. That's my best thinking to this point.
All right. Anything else? Oh, go ahead, Crystal. Yeah.
It's been my experience that when we as a collective consciousness are ready for more information, it shows up. So the popularity or the more that we're hearing about Lionsgate, I think that's part of the reason why, is because exactly like you were just mentioning, a greater spiritual awakening. And I think people are starting to look for more answers and wanting to embrace different perspectives and kind of like try them on and find what feels correct for them there, that feels like it aligns with them. So we see a greater awareness of situations like Lionsgate, or if you're into astrology, like when the nodes have changed signs and the current Pluto transit and what it's doing and that type of thing. It creates opportunity because those vibrational rates exist and they impact us on this plane. So we get the opportunity. Sometimes we're not exactly thrilled about it, but we get the opportunity to do this level of work. And the more people do it, it's like a ripple effect, and it goes out and it impacts the rest of the collective. And it might show up kind of more broadly on social media, like, ooh, Lionsgate, you know, and everybody's all excited about it, or some other event that's happening. But even that, though that might seem kind of shallow, for lack of a better word, it's still bringing people's attention to the fact that it exists. So it creates more of a awakening for those of us who might not have that awakening yet. It's a place to allow that energy to come in. And then those of us who are doing this level of work, then we're also taking this energy in. And it creates a ripple effect. It moves throughout our societies and allows for growth. And you can see clearly the polarization that exists right now for those who are actively wanting to have this future versus those who do not want to change. They are probably in a fear mentality and don't feel comfortable embracing, allowing these shift and changes. The master that I worked with, he taught us that in the past, we relied on a messiah to come or a teacher to come for us as a race to evolve. And he said, that's not happening this time. We all are going. No one's getting left behind. Everybody is going. And so I asked him, I said, well, there are people that don't want to do this. I said, what's going to happen to them? And he said, they'll be swept along. So everybody is going to be impacted by this. As to swept along, I would rather like embrace it and not get drugged behind the car. So yeah. Thank you.
Great. And there was Diane made a comment in the chat too that she knows that maybe it was used as a new year for Egyptian folklore. So yeah.
I feel many, if you look at just for example, the Egyptians, the encoded hieroglyphs, there's a lot of information that has been shared or was shared that was interpreted in a multitude of ways. So, you know, what we know of it or the perceptions of it right now are shifting and changing of Lionsgate, the purpose, the lineups, and all of those things with the different stars and star systems as to what the details are, were, and will be. But what's interesting, parallelly, you look at pyramids and the amplifiers of energy and encoded nature, the planet as a whole is also shifting from and with and to the core. It's shifting, it's changing, the temperature is changing, the locations, the geolocational latitude lines are changing, plates are shifting. And as everything is coming open, being shaken open, to parallelly open the heart, shaken open as these things are occurring, more information can get through in different ways or can be received in different ways than it's ever been. Because, I mean, for example, code, hieroglyphs, everything, everyone, everywhere is coded. So there's information there. The water is coded. There's memory. There's memory in the earth, in the air, in the wind, in the waters, in the waves, and everything that's ever occurred. So something shifts, it's opening up. And as it's opening up, it's rippling out. And as it's rippling out, even if there's no words spoken, that is available. Like all of that and all of us is available to access. So the more that things are opening, and the more that we're opening, and the more light that's being received and anchored in, it is consistently changing how we're perceiving things. Like what we look at right now as something, for example, as a concept is small, right? So we're breaking that open, and we're dissolving the walls away, and we have the, Lion's Gate. What is the purpose, or the perception even of pyramids, pyramid energy, crystallized information into the core and the crust as that shifts and changes. Our perceptions of all these things are evolving. Say, for example, Daniel, with consciousness, like what does it really mean? All these things we're discovering more and more all the time, because what's yet to be imagined, what's this new world that we're all creating through the rebuilding as things are restructuring into a brand new, different, aligned way through these divine will overrides of things that are crumbling apart, that need to crumble apart. We're finding out, we're perceiving, we're finding each other, and we're coming to know different ways that we can expand with this information. What does it mean? What is in there? What is in all these structures, these pyramid structures under the water that are rising, receding, falling? There's information that's yet to come forth.
Great, great. All right. Well, I'm thinking it would be a good time to dive into questions. So I put the information in the chat again. If you'd like to ask a question of the panel, it's sliding scale. It's $20 to $28 or $12 for BIPOC folks. We appreciate if you pay first. You can pay by PayPal or Venmo. We have a couple of people that have paid. Make sure that they're here. You can ask a question on anything. It can be related to the theme. It does not have to be related to the theme. Chances are we'll all have something to share in an answer. We'll see. And this is a great opportunity for everyone to practice opening their intuition. If you have something to write with, scribble with, take notes, I encourage you to do that. It can be anything that you're paying attention to on your screen, out the window, just something you're imagining. It might have something to do with the information that comes through us, and you get confirmation that you're tapping into the same thing. If you're practicing using cards or anything like that, draw some cards, see how you would answer, and see if that correlates with the way we would answer. If you have something come through you, please hold it until we're done answering the person's question. And then if you want, you're welcome to private chat them and let them know you have something. Please honor whatever they share. If they want to hear it or they don't want to hear it, trust that if they don't want to hear, they might be full. It came through you for some other reason. It may just be for you to feel more trusting of yourself and what you have to share. Of course, you might have something come through you that's relevant that we don't mention. And this is a great opportunity to learn from all that's asked and all that's answered, whether or not you're asking a question. You can ask us anonymously if you want, since this is recorded and going to be on YouTube. You can ask us anonymously if you let me know you want to do it that way. You can privately chat me your question and I can read it out. No one has to know who you are. It's great though if you're willing to come up on screen and everyone can learn more from what you ask, and we can feel your energy differently and all that. When you ask a question, and I think this is true anytime you work with anyone, and particularly when it's public, when you ask, when we answer, if we go deeper than you want us to go in this format, or we talk about other topics that for us are related, but you don't want us sharing about that, you want us to stay here, please interrupt us and give us guidance so we honor you in our answers. So we are open for questions. I have, no one said anything if they wanted to be anonymous. I'll just say DV is the first question. And then the name of the person the name of the business that paid is RE. So DV, are you here? Do you want to ask a question of the panel? It's not obvious that your name is here. Do you know who you are? Tiffany, I think you know who that person is. Are they here?
I'm looking through the people to see.
You could text them if they're not here.
Okay.
And then RE, so they might want to ask a question. Do you know who you are? It was your business that paid? Yeah, it might be you. Okay, great. Yeah. So, but Tiffany, you don't see the other person. They're not here because we can get started with. Okay, great. All right, can I bring you up on screen, the next person? All right, great.
Go for it.
All right, Gregory, what is your question?
Honestly, I didn't have any specific question in mind when I paid. I just felt like this was an important enough event to support and to recognize. I've been aware of the Lionsgate portal. Last year was the first year I really kind of felt a connection to it. This year, energetically speaking, it has been almost overwhelming, honestly, at points. There's a lot coming through in terms of messages from spirit. Meditation ability has taken a couple of twists and turns that I didn't expect. And energetically, I'm seeing things differently in the world around me, and just kind of tuning into a lot of different, almost multi-dimensional awareness for where people are in their lives. I really appreciated the question that Daniel had asked in terms of Lionsgate portal and why is, at least from his perspective, he's just starting to hear about it now. I'm thinking, well, I'm feeling actually that we're being given guidance to tap into specific dimensions when we're ready to. It's not just, hey, are you ready to receive this information yet? But I think that we're traveling down a bit of a rabbit hole of multiple parallel realities evolving at the same time. And the one that we all are in is a bit of a roller coaster. And we're setting our intentions, and I think we're being listened to very carefully from Source's perspective to figure out what kind of a world we intend to create as we roll into this 5D transition. I know a lot of people have theories about what specifically they think will be different with 5D versus where we are now. I struggle a lot. I have a lot of resistance to the idea that people who aren't ready to be enlightened or ready to step out of the construct are going to get left behind. That doesn't feel vibrationally accurate to me. And so I guess my question is, if we really feel like we have unfinished business here and we have one foot left in this reality, this construct with all of its drama and adventure and just really rich experience, what does transitioning into 5D, assuming that the Lionsgate portal has a significant role to play, because it feels like we're really, really, really close to a massive shift in collective consciousness. But there are so many beautiful souls here that aren't ready to accept the idea that this isn't the world they live in. I guess my question specifically is, what does transitioning into a 5D reality really look like from your perspectives? Crystal, you're muted.
Yeah. Well, hi.
Hello.
No one gets left behind. No one's getting left behind. They might have mass resistance. They might decide to leave the planet early, but no one's getting left behind. We've been in a transition for quite some time. I look at it as I've been training for a marathon, and now it's here, and now I'm running this and I'm involved in this. So I think part of what's happening as we transition towards a 5D is the three-dimensional plane, I feel, has been corrupted. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years of being on this plane, slowly, population opening more to transformation, personal transformation. And I think part of the resistance that we see happening is there's so much negative energy attached to the 3D plane. And those people who aren't comfortable doing self-introspection tend to live in a fear-based reality. There's people that think that this container is what they are. They don't realize that they're a divine incarnated individual here on this plane. So I think part of what we're experiencing is the cleansing and the shifting of the corruption that's happened to the 3D. And as we move towards the 5D, there's greater resistance to that corruption being released. It almost in a way is being fed by all the negative energy. I wouldn't say that it's actually a sentient being, but it's an energy that is fed by fear. And what we all are aiming for to the 5D is collaboration, community, allowing everyone to come to the table instead of the kick down thing, instead of this pyramid where the elite live up here and determine the experience for everybody else on the planet. And our Western culture really preaches that. Our Western culture preaches a total relationship with the external, none with the internal. And we're told our value is based on what we achieve monetarily or status quo or whatever. But so many people are hungry. That's not serving them. They're empty inside and they want more. And it's like this wave that comes through, and eventually you get enough critical mass that it is able to push past. And that's where we are now. We've hit that critical mass point. We're pushed past, and we're flowing outward and engaging these energies that are made available to the thought for us to do this work. So I can't exactly say what a 5D world will look like. I would imagine that it would not be fear-based. It would not be based on not trusting other, because that's a lot of what happens is we get isolated into different groups and we're told that our group is the best group and other cannot be trusted. Other has no relevance. But you're seeing this huge wave that's happened in the last few years that disenfranchised groups are stepping up saying, hey, this is BS. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to hold that anymore. And there's a greater awakening and education about letting go of these old archetypes that were supported. And you see the breaking down of systems that support that. And we're moving towards a more collaborative place with each other, of sharing resources instead of hoarding resources, of celebrating diversity, because diversity is reality instead of it has to be just one flavor. That when non-diversity is stagnation. We cannot grow and change if we do not embrace diversity. And I think the 5D is part of that growth, and that's part of what we're getting to. So that's what I got so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's
Okay,
go ahead,
I'll go
Tiffany
next.
Rose. Yeah.
Right. 5D reality. So the first thing, 3D is full of just extreme polarities. And one of the things that we're going to have to, we have to let go of the us versus them mentality. It's the tit for tat and keeping track of everything. To me, 5D is more unity based, more caring, more communal style living, going back to preparing our food together, knowing what's in our food, for example, shifting from just such topsy-turvy energies in the 3D and moving into more of unconditional love for all beings. And I say all beings because, we don't need to care what we look like anymore. A lot of the teams would come and walk openly amongst us if we would just stop killing each other. So that's part of, accepting everyone's differences as we shed, why do we judge these other people? And moving into the 5D is more inclusive, more, I just keep seeing more communal style living, community gardens, and going back to taking care of the planet and being grounded in the earth and in communities. I see a lot of the control systems within all the different governmental stuff, as was being talked about a little bit ago. Those are going to have to fall, and we're going to have to step up as communities and come together to agree on what's right for everyone. Because right now we don't really have a voice in the 3D, but as we shift, the more of us that raise our vibrations and keep those vibrations high, it's going to be a domino effect. I was told many years ago, studying with some monks in India, that it takes one awakened person to awaken 100,000 people. Just think about that. 100,000 people from one person. We can do it.
That's a fun thought.
Thanks. Anyone else want to jump in? If you have a little bit more to share,
just-
otherwise I want others have a chance too. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a short one. I want to build on what Tiffany was just saying about how one enlightened person can impact 100,000 people. Probably most of you have heard about the 100th monkey. So there was a group of researchers that were observing monkeys on a particular island, and they were set up on these islands that were nearby, and there was different monkey populations on these islands. So they, as the story goes, a bunch of yams washed up on the beach of this one island, and all the monkeys ran down there, and they were like, yeah, we want these. But they were covered with sand. And so the monkeys were like trying to bite them, but they were eating sand at the same time. And so one monkey went and rinsed off the yam in the water, and all the monkeys that were there, oh, cool, yeah, let's do that. I'm going to do that same thing. On the other islands where they were repeating the same experiment, all the other monkeys started doing the same thing. So it's the 100th monkey thing is the same thing as what Tiffany was sharing. As we evolve, which again just tells you the whole importance about being true to who we are, about being authentic, that creates a shift in the consciousness of the planet. So I just wanted to echo that and share that.
That's really
It's
cool.
not,
Thank you.
yeah, it's not necessarily a literal connection that we can scientifically demonstrate, like how others know, how others are aware, right? It's changing the energy of the system.
Yeah, I mean, historically, if you look at like different inventions that happened or the discovery of electricity or whatever you want to look at, it kind of pops up all over the place. It's like we're ready for that next shift. And so entities that are here or those of us lives that were incarnated, we get that information like, okay, here we go. And then it's the whole new thing for our world. And we just make these leaps and bounds forward. But I just find it fascinating that it mirrors itself all over the place. It's not just one place. It has a mirror effect.
Yep, great.
I'll go ahead and share a few thoughts. I don't particularly feel that a gateway is going to open and then we're all going to walk through the gateway and then we're going to be there. I mean, it could happen. I'll just go ahead and leave it out there as as a possibility. I love what Crystal was saying. I was aligned that with the morphogenetic field and how that works and how information sort of travels through us. I feel like I really feel many things. Um, for me, what I've been shown, at least for me in my life, is that it doesn't have to be super painful, but I don't think we quite understand how we really need to examine our belief systems. So it's really like, what if in 5D there are no banks, which I feel like people think. So even if we're looking at like our financial system, how are we going to go from what we believe, even if we say we don't want it, to co-creating like with a different sort of energy system or different sort of financial system? Like it just feels a little bit more challenging to me than we think. I really feel that one of the things is that indigenous bodies and indigenous populations, particularly, I'm just going to loosely say shamans and other beings that are, I'm talking like that are elected as shamans. And I've seen this like and been shown this, that their language is holding frequencies in the earth and that are connected to the earth. So a lot of what we're kind of waiting for, besides like obviously don't other people and let's clean up all of these belief systems about how we have about what is different from us and do we actually know what's different from us, is that like people are choosing to reincarnate into the same family line so that they can hold these frequencies. So it feels to me that like the new earth truly gets activated through ancient and original and indigenous languages that are holding frequencies. Like in Quechua, the word is Aini, which really means, like, breaks down into many things, but sacred reciprocity. So we're not going to be entering into any new earth unless we truly understand to our core what sacred reciprocity means. How do we feel in our bodies, and what does that mean? Because I also feel that our bodies are coming with us. Like we don't just get to ditch the body, and that there's a process in this. And I also feel that what we're really doing is that parts of us are holding a 5D frequency while we're trying to like manage the physical structure so that the physical structure can become enlightened and lighten up and really do, the beings talk about it as the language of descent and darkness, right? So if we are unable to see heaven and hell, I don't really feel that we're going to go anywhere. So it's like remembering that descent is necessary and it's inseparable from ascent. So we spend a lot of time talking about ascension and maybe not, and we spend time like blaming descent. And it's really necessary to go into our own darkness and to embrace the language of descent so that we can actually be in the hell realms and forgive ourselves and forgive our family and do whatever it is that we need to do, not to get out of hell, but to recognize that in true, pure darkness, that is the divine. And we have to practice starting to see the divine in literally everything, every type of teacher that shows up for us, so that we can really empower ourselves with the language of dissension, because it's been written out of our scriptures and of our ancient texts. But like how the beings mentioned earlier, holographic geographies and the original architecture, and it's alive and it's really in plain sight. It's on the walls in Egypt. It's like everywhere around us. It's in the plants, it's in the memory, it's in all things. And it's like we're remembering the 5D and taking our bodies with us there. And it is a beautiful process, but I don't think that it's not going to come without some challenges. And at least for me, there's been a massive amount of sort of like physical pain in the process, and really reconnecting parts of ourselves like back into the planet. And I think that we're all holding different parts. Like, I'm not saying it's going to hurt for everyone, and maybe somebody had cancer and they overcame and really survived and came through cancer, and then whatever it is that they did then becomes an instruction set that goes in the field, so then we can go ahead and link it to the morphogenetic field or something, and it can become a little bit easier for someone else, or mothers who have had sick children, like whatever it is, we're constantly faced with these challenges. And I find that the more that we become enlightened, the challenges don't go away, but we really start embracing them for the gifts and the teachers that they are, and then start taking care of ourselves in the process of transmutation. Because there is no way that a caterpillar that is being attacked by butterfly cells feels good while it turns to goo before it transmutes or metamorphosis, goes through a metamorphosis process, shifts its gooiness, can no longer battle off the butterfly cells, and just sort of surrenders to the process so that it can shift into this butterfly. And it doesn't necessarily, the butterfly, you talk to the butterfly, doesn't necessarily remember what it was like to be the caterpillar, and the caterpillar does not quite necessarily know what it's like to be the butterfly yet. And that's kind of the process that we're in. We're sort of a little bit in the caterpillar phase. Maybe some of us are like half caterpillar, half butterfly, and you're like, the butterfly cells are coming and there's still bits of caterpillar left, and like, let me spit all of this out to you now, and then maybe I'll see you on the butterfly side, or then I live for a few days and then die.
Yeah, it's a great analogy to think of it that way. The transition from big phase to big phase. Siren, did you want to share anything before I jump in?
Well, I think it's a great question. And that's why all of us, you look at the physical components of us, right? Our cells, our structures, our energies, our bodies, every ounce, every facet of our crystals is getting overridden with, you want to say purification, right? But it's really dissolving away back into pure state. And that's like all layers, all planes, all memories simultaneously, say, happening to the cells, to the skin, to the body, to the memory, to the energy body, to all layers of parallel lives. As one thing's dissolving away, it's dissolving away everything associated with that. And it's this massive divine override happening on the very micro to the very macro to get everyone, everywhere, everything, even the earth purification, return to pure state. So through these different layers and processes that it's unfolding is in waves, it's in frequency waves. So depending on how someone's experience is, say, for example, you were saying resistance, right? Or something like that, or whatever state of awareness, their frequency that they're in, they're still required, if they're here, to let go, to dissolve that away. And it is all getting through the collapse, through the restructure, is getting dissolved away. So there is no space for any out of harmonic, say, monetary system, business, company, all these different 3D aspects, every single thing, every single layer, every single one, every energetic, even on these other dimensional planes, there's distortion there too. And everyone everywhere is getting that, so that we can all come back into unification, which is into the heart, our innate state.
I feel like I love all of your descriptions, and that is exactly what I was hoping to kind of paint the picture of by asking that question. With the energetically sensitive and spiritual people in my circle, and the folks that I've talked to about what does 5D actually look like, and I always have to catch myself to make sure I'm not saying 5G instead of 5D. but the transition, I feel like, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but every kind of image that was painted for what that transition looks like is very different. I hear so many different variations on what the transition will actually look like, and will there still be an Earth? Will Earth transition to something else? And I see the comment that it is an individual process. It's really interesting to me to see all of the various aspects of how we think this transition will come about, and everybody's got their own flavor on it, their own take on it. And I'm wondering if that might not be the intention of Source, is as we as intentional creators are being challenged with the idea of what does the transition actually look like, how will that come to pass, and then the universe has to weave it all together into a tapestry. Thank you for your answers.
And I have a little bit I'm going to add too. I've always been a little confused by the idea of like 3D to 5D, and I just kind of ignored it, not knowing quite what to do with it. And I realized today that it maps on the worldview lessons that I talk about and what I read in people's eyes. So I just put the summary in the chat. So I look at something called worldview, which is our overall context or perspective, consciousness, meta lessons. So these are big lessons that we move through, and I think about people as in one or a couple, kind of transitioning between them. And so 3D to 5D really links up really well with, I think, the way people typically talk about them, the third worldview and the fifth worldview. So I talk about how we all start in survival as babies, getting our basic needs met. And by the way, this matches some other like big hierarchies of the first 5 lists, I should say, of other people's models. So survival is getting our basic needs met. We're a baby. We literally need things from others to survive. And then 2 is security. So figuring out how things work and thinking we know how things work. So going over to a friend's house when we're little and saying, that's not the right way. It's supposed to be blah, blah, blah. That's how we do it at my house. And then the third is where so much of our culture currently is. Success, it's competitive, it's stepping on each other, wanting to have bigger, more, better. So climbing, so it's focusing only on ascension, you could say, but not necessarily spiritually. And yeah, I mean, so it's just wanting it values what other people think of us, how they see us. So it doesn't matter to have more unless someone else, hold us up because we have more. And then the fourth is connection. We want deep, real, meaningful relationships. And and they're often intense and filled with drama. So I usually describe it as 2 people attempting to connect and they're different and they don't fully understand each other, get each other, know how to meet each other. And so there's a twisting as a pretzel to meet each other, which gets exhausting, which is what I share is like, that's what moves us towards fulfillment of, instead of stretching out to the other, it's like, oh, what about me? Like, what do I really want? What matters to me? What's my purpose? This is a connection to spirituality and like, why am I here? And how do I share why I'm here in the world? And so a lot of the things about 5D, I think, link in with that really well. And we go through, and all of these are like layers of an onion, peeling an onion. And so in fulfillment, we're peeling layers of an onion. We imagine we know what our purpose is. Oh, it's actually a slight variation of that. And, so all of our relationships, we still have them, but we engage them from.
Mason.
Yeah, that's good.
You want a spring roll?
Sorry,
Here, Mason,
sure
get
you're
come.
muted. Okay. Checking in with ourselves, and that was great. We had the parent there asking a kid, like, what do you really want? Checking in from ourselves. Sorry, Mace, we got to keep you muted. All right, one moment. Okay. So what really works for me, and then I describe presence, the next stage, with a bunch of my lessons. It's basically, oh goodness, like one way I look at people is that we have 7 talents and we grow to the most spacious lesson of our talents. I look at ways we protect ourselves from wounding from the first 2 years of life, and we heal all that wounding. We have spaciousness in so many characteristics of how we typically show up, where we can meet everyone in a range. We're no longer attached. I think of it as like tendrils of spirit, and that we have to like find our way back along the tendril to connect to greater wholeness. And then service is now that we have all this skillfulness, we're of service to all the time. So to me, the 3D to the 5D links really well with success to fulfillment. And it's stages. I don't think of it as like popping through the door. Like that would be, for me, it would be like a near-death experience, and I'm a walk-in and I have one awareness, then I'm another awareness. So for me, it's transitional, it's gradual, even though I have some intense periods of growth. And I talk about how when people go from the 4th connection to the 5th fulfillment, they have to let people go because not everyone's willing to go with them. And that if we're so connected to them and trying to get them to come with us, we're still stuck in the 4th lesson of the connection and caught in the drama. And so we have to love how it is and accept how it is, love how it is, let it be and grieve. And we have to be willing to let the spaciousness happen. And sometimes that spaciousness is what causes the shift in the other person, which has them choose to come forward with us or go forward in their own way. But we have to let that spaciousness happen for ourselves to go forward. And some go with us, we find new people. So I think of this all the time in everyone's growth, that this is the journey and this is what we're doing. And it's not that they'll never move, and it's not that they're not here. But do I choose to live in a world with people that are focused more on fulfillment, or do I focus in a world where people are trying to get more and better? So I feel like right, a bunch of us that are here, like we've already done so much of this. So it doesn't have to be a big dramatic shift and change. There was one other thing I wanted to say about this. So I pay a lot of attention to politics. I don't mean to offend you if you have different politics than me. I feel like the shift that we've gone through in the last 3 weeks with what happened in the Democratic Party is, I mean, we're struggling and going and trying to honor our values and struggling what's going to happen. A lot of people are stressed. Even my friends, like we all feel very differently about what would be a good outcome, and things changed. And kind of like the butterfly, it kind of got a little not knowing, and then something new has emerged and it's very different. And we couldn't quite see that from 4 weeks ago. And it feels like a very different context right now. A lot of the context is the same. And I think part of what's happening is that the people at the front in the Democratic Party are learning to speak a different language and engage with others in politics in a different way. So they're not caught in the same tussles as before. And it's different. So I feel like we're learning this stuff all the time. I didn't want to go on for too long, but yeah, so that's a model I use, and it seems like it's very similar.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, everyone, I want a spring roll. That's great. Right? All kinds of things happen for reasons, including the spring rolls. Oh, anyone want to share anything else about with Gregory in terms of an answer? Sometimes when we share, we prompt new things to emerge in each of us. Yeah, and Dana wrote, some would say that one cannot enter the next level, dimension, density by understanding it all, but paradoxically by not understanding while surrendering to deeper realities. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. If we get caught in the attempting to understand, it really is keeping us caught in like the 3D, kind of like control. I was listening to something on the news today, right? If we feel scared and we're coming from fear and we need to control, we keep ourselves from being spacious and fluid and from opening and growing. So yeah, and I was thinking, it's not my ability to control that has me feel safe. It's my ability to respond, right? I have to be like bendy and movie and able to navigate, shift, and change. And that's what creates more safety. How I create more safety for myself now that I once did. Yeah, Gregory, anything else you want to ask or share? Sounds like we were meeting what you
I'm
asked
good for now. I can let someone else ask you a question, and that I could always come up with more questions later.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you.
supporting us. Thank you for getting us going with questions.
Always.
All right. You're welcome. All right, let's see. We could try letting Spring roll back in. I think that was unintentional. We could see if he'll stay muted again. Let's so just a moment, I might have to mute him as he arrives. Okay, great. Yeah, we've got a third question in line, and I think the other person that had paid already wants to ask something. All right, so far Springwell is staying quiet. Nope, still joining. Maybe they're not going to come back in. All right, great. Okay, let's see. So I think DV joined us. I'm just using. Oh, let's see. So, I'll say Delia, you joined us. I think you were wanting to ask a question of the panel. I know you missed the initial discussion. Are you wanting to ask us a question, or do you want to hang out for a little bit first?
Thank you. I'd love to hang out for a little bit first. Sorry to have joined so late. Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's great. We're glad to have you here. Okay, let's see. I understand that someone else has asked a question. And the person that wrote me in chat about this, do you want to come up on screen with us? How would you like to do this? You tell me what you want to do. Okay, great. All right. I just need your video on. It's not on already. Let me go look for you. I just need your video on and then I can bring you up here. There you are. Oh, yeah, great. Okay, cool. All righty. I know who it is. Thanks for jumping in and having a question for us.
Yeah, so hi everyone of Lionsgate tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. So I don't know, I didn't have a question, but I just paid and figured I'd come up with one on the spot. So let me think what I can think of. So like I created a diagram like 6 months ago, a really cool one with all kinds of stuff in it and like really like detail oriented about all this stuff about spirituality. And now the last week I've created like 4 diagrams, and they're all kind of like describing like my community, and then another one that describes spiritual reality and a bunch of different things. But like the energy is flowing lately the last week, and I really feel like on Lorelai's chart, I feel like I've kind of gone into community and kind of come out of that, and I'm into what's the next one after that? Phasing into the next phase, and I really have a lot of community like up to my ears, and I'm wondering what's next for me, what Lionsgate stuff is next. I feel like I've got fulfillment, not on like a monetary level, but definitely on a personal level. I could go a lifetime with what I have right now, even if I didn't, but obviously I got to pay the bills at some point. But so that's like where's abundance and stuff in this, and where do I get into the present state or the service state or stuff like that, or any of these scales that you guys personally have for these meters of atonement or whatever you might call it, or whatever is in your head. Yeah, that's it.
I want to link a couple things of what you said. You said you created 1 chart and then 4 charts. I think that you had a model for for creating a chart. A chart emerged from you, and it's been a while.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, a group of other ones have emerged, and they're charts
right,
for
just like in the last
modeling
week.
things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Modeling real world things that are hard to explain and a lot of people don't know about. So yeah, like the expansion of the universe from here to the now moment, and then the unconscious mind of God coming into the universe and manifesting as our new thought at the tip of the iceberg, and that unconscious space between the unconscious God, the unconscious human, and the conscious human world we created already, kind of thing. If that's all in a handbasket there.
And tell me so part of what I'm thinking of too is bursts. So, and I don't know if this is relevant for you or not, but you had a community that was over there, but it wasn't current in your life. I know you found our community, you found another community, and then all of a sudden all these community, right? So you said a lot of people around you.
Yes.
So it felt like
and the last one was
abundance.
physical, which was great. There was lots of scarcity before, lots. And I think like it was just very not draining, but like you're already drained and still draining, before, so it was something like that. Yeah. Beforehand.
And so you're talking about different areas. So you're talking about manifestation on the physical plane, and you're also talking about for your own self and how you've gone through some big shifts. And you're kind of asking, wondering about like some practical things. You said like paying the bills and some other things on a personal level.
Yeah, I gotta manifest that, and part of me says, well, I'm working toward this ikigai thing and trying to get into the space of fullness, but there's still this hammering of other ways to make the money, and do I go down those avenues, or do I keep on this path? But at the same time, where's where's the money? Where's the money? What's the movie? Where's the money? Right? It's stuff like that. So I really don't care, but other people, care more than me, and I do have to live. So yeah.
So I want to say, do you want us to, and you may be okay if we do all kinds of different things. Do you
Yeah,
want us to
that's it.
talk more about the theory? Do you want us to talk about practical solutions for you, or
I think
you want us
what Lionsgate would have for someone in my position, and what you intuit from my vocals or my vocal tonations or whatever you see about me and stuff like that. So yeah, cool.
All right, and I know we've got at least one other question after this too, everyone, just so I might watch our timing on this question a little bit more. Are you posting one of your charts?
That's the last one I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look at the details, but I think it's one I saw
It's way too
on
much to
social
take in
media.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
know
would
I'm in
take
the
too long.
Logcabin,
You
so
can
it's
say
slow.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I can probably just pull it up. You can put on your
Well,
screen
no,
share your
it's just
screen.
I couldn't
Hmm?
explain it in seconds, right? So
No.
yeah. So, but
Well,
I shared it
yeah,
anyway in case anyone wants to. Context is important sometimes.
I can't pull it up because I can't remember the other name. Do you want to just put it on your screen? I don't want you to spend much time sharing
No,
it.
it's okay.
Talking about it,
It's okay. It's
okay.
okay. I'll if anyone got access to it there, that's fine. And if they didn't, then that's the universe.
Anyway, it
So
was what I remember is it was some different circles, but there's also a spiral, and there are different things that go along it. And it was explaining probably like community and relationships of people in the community, and like the vision and the purpose of the community, kind of things like that, are all together in the.
right. And it was one track, one enlightenment track, not just representing all of them, but just one of them. But beyond the enlightenment track is the global community track, which is farther into this history of storytelling and stuff and wording the world. But I think one thing I want to say is like all the things in my past are being funneled into this channeling of these charts, and it's not just me present just coming up with random, just like flowing. It's more like my whole history of learning is actually congealing together, kind of thing. I can't explain it. So it's like, and it's still not formed, Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily
Right.
explain it, because I think that a lot of us here know it. Like our past have so informed how we're here now and why we do what we do,
Right.
but we never would have guessed that our past were going to lead this direction.
Yeah, it's definitely
And I
nice and
say,
weird.
and
So
oh yeah, mine wouldn't come through, but yeah, and everyone said Todd's gifts are technical, and as you've been opening spiritually, you're sort of like transitioning, like how does all this technical stuff inform spiritual, and how do you
yes.
use them in a spiritual context, and how do you do it now that you're shifting and changing?
So yeah, the art, diagrammic art. So yeah.
Yeah, practitioners, if you're getting any messages for tea, go ahead and jump in. And oh, I know your other name. I can go get the chart.
Okay, I'll just say something real quick. This is all this sciencey stuff is above my head. The one thing that came to me is just hearing you talk about all these different communities that you're in. Have you spent time with yourself?
I don't know. Let me think. Yeah, I do spend a lot of time with myself, but in communion with the computer, I would say. Yeah. Not so much in silence or in meditation or stuff like that. So yeah.
That's what I would recommend, is
Yeah, okay.
really taking the time to meet yourself. It's wonderful coming in with community and having all of that support, but make sure you don't forget about you, like who you are, and all of that. As far as next steps, I would say follow your curiosity and your joy. Whatever brings you
Okay.
joy, follow that. Whatever your curiosity is picketed by, follow that.
Nice.
I'm just going to share my screen so everyone can see what the image. So it's this one, right?
Let me see. Pop that up. Yeah, I guess yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. I'll this might work too.
So y'all get an
but
idea of what this is. So I can't see the details. I haven't looked at the details, but you get the idea of what's going on here.
yeah, it's just the expansion of the Om, which is the first conceptual form, and to the Big Bang, which is the part of reality that is what's the word? I want to say it's just mathematical, and it's just coming out all these mathematical ways, and then it's not, there's no choice in that universe. And then the next universe is the plant universe and the animal universe, whereas there's choice of emotion. And then the next universe is the choice of mind in the human universe. And then there's the storytelling and the wording of the world, and then there's belief systems and so on. And and then to the red section is right where that I'm focusing on this one belief system that is involved in awakening the world, I think. So.
Okay. I like it. I think it's awesome. And you said you've created multiples of these?
4 of them so far.
Okay.
The first one was really like everything in a big picture, and these are more Sangha related, community related.
Okay. I definitely would encourage you to keep making these and to keep making more of them, and to even challenge yourself to take this one and maybe make smaller versions of it. Like, I don't mean smaller versions of it, but to break it down
Yeah,
and
zoom in,
focus.
zoom out. Yeah.
Yeah, to focus in on one of those sections and to make something out of it, because what it feels like to me is that, and if I remember from a long time ago, I mean, I say a long time ago as in I don't know, the last time I saw you, whenever that was, some period of time,
Yeah.
could have been a year. Um,
Yeah.
you had some new beings that were coming in, and kind of like a lot of intense sort of things that were coming up. So I feel that I'm going to call this art. That when we're creating art, we're opening our channels, and it's very clear to me that you are receiving downloads and information. And one way in which to ground that before we start, it can be like a level of integration, but before we start, like, really grounding that in and having a full understanding, we can make art out of it, and we can sort of organize the information in a visual way. So I think this is really beautiful. So my question for you is, have you ever taken this, printed it out, sat with it, and like put it on your chest and actually start receiving what you're actually bringing into the world, so that you can then even work with more layers of it and more layers, because this feels like one level of communication. And then to continue developing the relationship with, I'm going to call it this being or guide that's working with you, but that is an aspect of yourself that you're beginning to integrate with, and that you're sort of kind of becoming in oneness with. And then sitting with what you're creating, and then to see what can I channel from what I've just created that's sitting in front of me. And then can you take this, and then maybe somebody has a question for you, like from your community, and then you wonder about it and look at this, because the information is now in front of you, and so you can use it to help community members. Maybe this becomes a card deck, maybe this becomes other things, but I don't think you have to worry about that right now. But it feels like you're in a creative space, and that's bringing you a lot of joy, and it's really clear that you're getting downloads of information. And sometimes people get downloads of, like, really, like, I know a person, he does galactic astrology. It's different than how Tiffany Rose was talking about it, but it just flips. His name's Graham Forkutz or something. But 30 years ago, he got this one massive download, and basically his life path is to unpack this one download that he got and sort of be able to put words to it. And I'm not saying that you're only getting one, but to be able to, like, once you sit with this, with yourself, with what you've created, you can start feeling the language that begins to come through for it, so that then you can talk about it with other people with confidence, eventually, and feel really good about it. I mean, because this
Yeah.
is really wonderful and this is really great, and this can be so many things. It could be a book, it could be, but it doesn't have to be anything right now. So let's not put pressure on it and just sort of
Right.
stay open to the receiving. And it's also okay. I don't know what you're doing currently to pay bills, but it's also okay to bring and necessary to bring our enlightenment and our transformation to the quote unquote jobs that we have during the day. Like, because many of us are part of corporations, and I like to remind people that corporations are corporal and they are bodies, and just like those bodies, our bodies are needed to be in that body to make that body a healthy body, and that we can slowly transition out if we're feeling guided to do that, to just do quote unquote spiritual stuff like full time and however that works for us. I've worked with people that work in tech, and I'm not getting that the message is for you to leave your tech job and read tarot cards, but maybe
No.
eventually, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, and to really honor that whatever your day job is, I don't care what it is, but that you're also there to bring you to that, and that is a beautiful thing. And this thing that you're making is also a beautiful thing, and all of them, and to just let them come out. You might make 40 of them, and maybe 30 of them are like really it, and then you get to work through the editing process, because it's all a process,
Yes.
and the only important thing here is that you have fallen in love with the process.
True. Yeah, that's very good. I like that. That resonates definitely highly. And I think like it was like like some of these are like 8 hour, 10 hour sessions where I'm just like iterating. And then I think like also the community leaders in some of the places are like one was an org chart for one place and they're liking some of it, they might use some of it, and the other one was this one that I did, and the community leader over here like, local to me is like, oh, I want to see more of this, I want to talk to you about it, I want to like understand it. And I do definitely resonate with the throat chakra, and working on my voice through these because obviously I can get on paper so well now, but I can't vocalize it so well. And if it is my whole history with the current present moment channeling, then I need to be able to communicate that whole process, you know? So yeah.
I want to say too, I
Yeah,
just want to
it's
link back
great.
what Galactic Ashley said and what Tiffany Rose said. The idea of printing it out and putting it on your chest, it allows you to really take
Yeah, I
in
like
what's
that.
come through you, and it really turns into the meditation. A version of the
Yeah.
meditation that Tiffany Rose was saying. Yeah, and your voice
Cool.
is just calmed, and your energy is calmed too, just as we're talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red Siren, if you wanted to share more. Just because you started to
No,
chat, you don't have to. Yeah, whoever goes next.
oh, I really enjoyed the expansion and perception on that. They're fascinating. The whole graph, I don't want to call it a graph, but the whole download, it's like a download in artistic format is brilliant. But yeah, it feels like it's so many things. So I would
I like those
just,
words, download in artistic format. That's good. Yeah. That does
yeah,
describe it. That is like, yeah, my visualization of the download. Yeah.
it reminds me a bit in a way of like automatic writing, but it's automatic. It's downloading through, you want to say the 3D form. And the way that, I mean, whatever information is coming intuitively, or what it could be for, would be for you to really, like Lorelai was saying, work with, listen to, unfold and unfold as it's being discovered, or checking in within yourself of what parts of that are resonating, or in what ways, or in what layers, because as you're expanding with it, maybe something is coming more to the forefront as something to expand with more. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
if there's some part of that diagram and download that feels a focus at that moment, allow that and your intuition to guide you as to what to explore of that. And from that we'll uncover all these different, you want to say, worlds within the diagram to dive into.
Yeah. It is like a theology of reality. The whole structure of it. If there's more of them to come, it's more diagrams of the structure of reality on an emotional and physical and mental level and unconscious and so forth.
And part of it
My
too,
personal. I want to advocate. I want to caveat my personal, but it may provide use to some others that have a similar soul group, I guess. So, yeah.
and I would encourage you too to not aim to force it or feel attached to understanding it or more coming through, or if you can bring a lot of looseness and spaciousness to it, chances are more will happen.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Crystal.
Hey, I like the idea of laying it on your heart. I would, especially with Lionsgate being focused on heart activation, this might be a time for you to utilize that energy by breathing. As you lay it on your heart, breathe it. Breathe your heart and breathe this diagram at the same time, because that will have it present in a different way. You tend to run the mental really strong.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, we all run different ways, and for you, the mental is really strong. And it feels like sometimes you can get kind of spun out and have a hard time getting back, because you like start on that spiraling of what it is. Like you said, you had the one diagram and then all of a sudden 4 showed up. But by stopping for a moment, breathing it through the heart, that I think is going to combine a more emotional, that's not the right word I want, a more integration by using the heart. The heart center is where the first 3 chakras intersect at the heart center, and then the above chakras come down and intercept at the heart center. That is a center associated with affinity. So I think it would be an interesting paradigm shift for you to try that. You don't have to like say, oh, I have to do this. Just like try it. And I think it will bring a greater integration for it. It will also let your body have a break. Because it feels like sometimes you get really intense into this and you lose touch with what the body's doing, what the body's feeling, and what's happening with the body. And it feels like it feels like sometimes you also are a little ungrounded, and then you are pulled more out of your body. So that, yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. So definitely, I'm feeling the get grounded thing from you guys, and I definitely appreciate that. It is a very high feeling. I mean, I guess all things with high vibration is just like it's like spinning at the top of your crown chakra, and just kind of like it's like a manic high kind of, but it isn't. Or the world would call it that, but it's also you have the ability to come down from it, which is the difference. But it does require touching back with your body, I guess. Yeah. So.
And it also will give your nervous system a chance to acclimate, because as you're doing this, you're really pushing the frequency thing, but the container needs time to acclimate. It's like you're changing. If like you were a 25-watt bulb and you're entertaining and bringing in these new diagrams or systems about, like you said, how to explain reality, that's going from a 25-watt bulb to like a baseball stadium with those halogen lights are totally lit up. That's a big push of energy. And so you don't want to blow yourself up. You want to make sure that you let yourself have some downtime and acclimate.
Yes. Because it's actually multiple layered. It's like it's actually, downloads from multiple schizophrenic experiences, multiple manic experiences, all coming to, like, they're reviewing all this stuff. Okay, I told you all this, and this, and this. Well, here's the new information. Now attach it to the old information and put it out. So yeah. So it's
Right,
very much layered, even layered among more energy of the past is coming in as well. So
right. So like drinking water, remembering to eat
yeah.
food. Yeah, there you go. And just taking a moment to touch base with the body and the emotional aspect, and say, okay, thank you for supporting me as I am continuing this work that I want to do. Is there anything I need to do for you? What can I, the conscious self, do for you to enrich or enhance your experience? Because you're a fourfold being. You're not just the mental, you're physical, emotional, and spiritual. And at this point, the mental is really at the front of the
Yeah.
parade. So I just want
But I
to,
do see yes and the emotional or the loving part is flowing in the community sense. It's like the outlet is in the community sense for me, I think is really happening there is taking this mental load and putting on the emotional load is the community outputting it to the community and then getting reverberation of like, okay, here's how you can work with it better. Here's how I can do it like in my personal connections and stuff through these communities and stuff. So yeah,
yeah, so that's your
definitely.
feedback. That's your feedback mechanism.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
it's interesting that you say load, because that reminds me of electricity. There's load and line. And
Right.
especially if you're wanting to wire something like an outlet, you have to look at load and you have to look at line.
Mm.
So I don't want you to burn out. You're
No,
doing,
I got you. I got you. It's like the rest of it isn't there yet, so you got to slow down a little bit so the rest can catch up.
yeah, yeah,
It's like there's a stopgap in my throat chakra, you know. So
right. And so if you allow for that, because sometimes the mind gets impatient and doesn't want to stop, but if you allow for yourself to have the ebb, because you're in constant flow, if you allow yourself to have the ebb, then it gives everybody else a chance to integrate and catch up, and you get a chance to rest.
Galactic Ashley had a little bit more.
Yeah, I just want to say, so this is something to think about. So let's like go to like we can call it a channel session, an episode, or whatever you want to call it.
right,
Like
whatever.
if we sit and we think about or feel about like to feel that vibration and it feels
Hmm.
good, right? Um,
Right.
but then it can kind of like, it's like drinking a little bit too much coffee sometime. So when you
Yes.
make this multi-layered thing and then you hand it to someone, you're essentially handing them the and it might be too much for other people also.
Ah.
So keep
Mm.
that in mind. And so the more that you're actually able to print it out, put it on your chest, and to actually sort of no, I'm not. That is
Yes.
really not. The more that you're able to actually embody what you're bringing in, the more that you're actually
Mm.
able to share it in a way that people can feel it or bring it or understand it in a way in which they
Mm.
understand things, right?
Yes.
So if somebody's like, I don't get what that is, then you're like, oh, well, just hold it over your heart. It's okay. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a mental
Mm.
thing. It's just like light language or anything else. We can receive the frequencies of information without needing to know exactly what they mean. And it's also beautiful if you know what it means and you can also feel what it means, so that you're sharing it out there without overloading someone's
Mm.
system or your own. And it's
Mm.
just a process. And we've all gone through this process in some way
Yes.
or another. And it's just about managing energy, which is challenging. And I, for one, tend to push myself sometimes. But for me, it's because I had lacked faith that I would be able to finish if I stopped. And so that was
That
something for
is
me.
true.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was something for me to look at, because I'm afraid if I
Or can you
stop,
get back to it, right?
yeah, I won't get back to it. I'll get distracted. I'll procrastinate. An ADHD thing will
Or
happen.
or does this miracle happen again, And will it be the same content? And it's always different the next time. Did I
Yeah.
lose something from the previous time to this time? So
And
anyway.
so you get to practice stopping and then returning to it, or kind of maybe trying to create a routine, or just knowing that that energy will come back and that you get to go to it. And then the more that you do that, the more you start trusting yourself. And also, like, I have a painting that I started And one of them I finished in 3 days. The other one, it's been there for like 3 weeks. It's just sort of sitting there, but I will go back to it and then I'll just start working on it and it will be okay. But it's like, it's a process. And that was really hard for me for a while. Like, and I kind of burnt myself out in grad school and all these other places because I'm like, I have to finish this because if I don't, I'll never finish it. But that's like a,
It's the urgency. Yeah.
it's a, yeah,
It's the
but it's
time
more of
pressure, and
a,
always time pressure is never a good thing to listen to, right?
It's a
So
well, no, I
scarcity.
mean, yeah, it can
scarcity
be,
mindset.
yeah, it can be helpful, but at the same time, it really for me came to lack of trusting myself and my
Ah,
ability to finish something, and
yeah, I
or
can
my
see that.
ability to ask somebody to help me finish or to be a little bit of an accountability partner so that they can help me finish the last 3%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Crystal's got a little bit
Wing.
more.
So everything has its own process. And sometimes where we get impatient, we don't trust the process. It's like baking a cake. If you open the oven door every 5 minutes to see what it's doing, you're just going to have this gooey mess at the end because you've not allowed it to have the process it needs to turn out to be the thing that you're wanting to manifest. So, and to me, in a way, process is sacred. There's so much that happens when we get into a place of receiving and allow it to unfold without us trying to manage it. And I think Ashley brought up some really good points about that, as well as what Lorelei just said. There's a divine plan, and you're participating in your fashion with the divine plan. But there's ebb and flow to all things. And so if you allow yourself to, like you said, you started out with one diagram, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, now I've got 4. So that was part of
Yeah.
the process, right? So you have to
Yeah.
trust that even though you might not finish it in the moment, maybe you're just waiting for the next piece to come in and you might not
Yeah.
realize that. So you have to trust that process and trust that it will unfold in the most appropriate fashion.
Mm.
And give yourself that grace. Because sometimes we do push ourselves too much and we do think it's not going to turn out, and we have this thing in our head and we just want to chase it, chase it, chase it. And by sometimes when we do that, we lose other things that we might see on the way because we're too focused
Yeah.
on worrying about trying to finish it. You can just let it have its
Yeah.
process.
And there's a value to peace in between, and stillness and calm.
Yes.
You know, because you can't recharge without that. So
No, you
yeah.
can't. So it's ebb and flow, right? So if you think of the analogy of the tides, right? So when there's high tide, there's this water, it's lifting all the boats, it's energy, it's happening. Then the tide goes out and now everything's exposed. And so I always ask, when do you want to go beach combing? Do you want to go when the tide's really high, or do you want to wait for the tide to go out, right? So that's part of that ebb, that slowdown, that allowing the process to have its flow. And so you can be really on, and then it's okay if you're off for a while. It's just okay to allow that instead of pressuring yourself to push, push, push.
Yes. So the whole balance thing, which is not fun for me. It's
Yeah.
fun, but it doesn't happen often.
And in this
Right.
it doesn't have to be balanced. So in this case, there was a lot of flow of water. And then on the other side, there's a
Yeah.
lot of flow of, right, exploration. So it's different things.
Right.
Doesn't have to be an even surface.
My perfectionism comes in when I hear the word balance. So,
And
colonialistic perfectionism.
And part of what you some of the different shares had me think of was spiral labyrinths, because you have a spiral in here. And so I just went looking for you, and these are examples of labyrinths in Florida where you are. So
Cool.
there are other ways of doing
Wow.
meditation. It doesn't have to be silent. So you might do well to find something like that and do more of a walking meditation for who you are.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Real quick on the meditation front, you can also just practice mindfulness, which is another form. Like washing the dishes, you notice that the water is touching your hands and that all you're doing right now is washing the dishes. There's no thoughts of anywhere else
Yeah.
that you need to be, past, present. You're just in that moment.
Yes. I just did an ACIM where they said that, you know, in the present moment, the thoughts can't enter. They're not allowed. If you're in the present moment, the thoughts actually can't enter that space. It's like a hollowed, safe ground that you can rest in. You know what I mean? Kind of like that, you know. So
This whole time, all I could think was a lot of what you brought in as far as your questions was all external, like the community, the work, all this stuff outside of yourself. But again, I just want to say, take that time for yourself, get to know yourself, spend that time with just you, what you like, what you want, not what anybody else thinks or wants.
yes.
Great. Thank you so much, T. Oh, Crystal has a little bit more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to what Tiffany was saying about if you struggle with letting yourself have that ebb, then you might look at that as an issue. Like, so what is that about? Why can't I let myself have time? Why can't I let myself have a break and just be able to like shut down for a little bit, or just become more mellow for a little bit and just be for a little bit versus full tilt on? So I'd be curious, like, what are you telling yourself when, like you said, you had a perfectionism thing. So what are you telling yourself in the moment that stops you from being able to let yourself have that quiet time or that downtime?
The urgency, yeah, a sense of urgency that might not be there in real life, you know.
Right.
So
So that would be, I don't have enough time. If I don't do it right now, it's not going to exist anymore. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to do it. Why? If
yeah,
I stop, it won't be there anymore. Well, maybe if you
right.
stop, there'll
I
be
think
a.
that goes at what Ashley said about having trust that it'll come back, and it'll come
Mhm,
back the right way, in the right
mhm.
time, in the right place, and the right stuff will come. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, so yeah.
yeah. So just, a lot of encouragement here from us to you about
Thank you. Yes.
allowing yourself to have that and just experiment with it. And be
Yes.
kind of the observer, like, okay, what am I telling myself? Where are these messages coming from that I'm
Mm.
getting anxious when they start happening?
Another Russian doll. They just don't
Exactly.
end.
Exactly. It's all Russian doll. And just when you think you get down to the littlest one, it's like,
Oh
oh man.
God. There's a whole universe behind that little one. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah. And with your diagrams, it probably leads to a whole nother place, right?
yeah, I heard the laws of physics might even be different. You know, so anyway.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much, T, for jumping in and asking a question and sharing your diagrams with us.
Thank you.
All right. Delia, can I give you some context? And are you ready to jump up and ask us a question? You can ask us a question on anything. We shared a bit about the theme being Lionsgate, and you don't have to ask us a question on anything in particular. It's great if you ask us a or you ask us a question, a deep personal question, just like you would sitting at a private session with us. And this is public. It's not only are people here, it's also getting recorded. So it'll be up on our YouTube channel. If you're willing to jump up on screen, we're happy to have you here on screen with us. If you want, you can also just write a question in the chat and I'll read it out. It's up to you. And in exchange for doing it in public, you get answers from all of us on the panel. Do you want to jump in and ask a question? And you don't have to, okay, you don't have it prepared. And if you don't feel ready, that's fine. You don't have to do it now. Just want to let you know it's available. Yeah, so we're available to take another question from the audience if someone else has a question. It is sliding scale. I'll put the information in the chat again. And you'll see we tailor our answers to you, wherever you are. Yeah, so just 20 to 28 or $12 for BIPOC folks. And we'd love to answer a question if someone has one. And for those of you who are in the audience who are practitioners, you're getting a sense of how these panels work. We haven't been running them for a few months, and we're getting ready to start running them again. And yeah, so you see how this works.
I've got a question. Something that you had mentioned earlier about the past 3 weeks and the election, and not that I want to get into politics at all, but I can't help but think that the reason things are taking such a dramatic shift or a dramatically different direction is because there are more people who are able to laugh at the situation, not be drowned in fear or worry. We just came out of the pandemic, which was a life altering, paradigm shifting experience, but for the most of us, other than the ones that we lost during the pandemic, life kind of did bounce back into something resembling normal. And in fact, if anything, I'd say that a lot of things got better on the backside of the pandemic than not. And even the administration that we went through, it was terrifying. There were very dark days. There were lots of experiences where there was a very good reason to be full of fear. But we got through that too. And I kind of feel like that there are more people now who are able to look at the challenges ahead of us with a bit of wisdom and know that, hey, I don't need to twist my stomach into knots every night, because I know that no matter which way things are going to go, it's actually going to be okay. We're going to find our way through it, and doom and gloom doesn't have to rest upon the horizon. And so I feel like that the more people are having more of a positive, optimistic, co-creative, intentionally creating perspective, that may be what we're experiencing now in terms of, I don't know, is anybody else having as much dread with the previous election or with this election as we did with the previous election? I'm just curious what people's thoughts are.
I would say I agree. It seems like we popped through so that we're in a different place, and there is more joy and more humor and not as much fear and not as much, people are not as scared. But it seemed like energetically we had to go through a shift for that to happen too. So it's kind of like the chicken egg, like what's the sequence of how things happen? And it definitely seems like we're in a different context now. And so that's why for me, like those worldviews, like we were engaging from a connection place and now we're engaging from more of a fulfillment place. Like, what do we really want? Rather than how do we dance with what's here and how do we navigate with what's here, and kind of the frantic around that. Anyone else want to say something towards that? Go ahead, Chris.
I think it's interesting that as a symbolism that Joe Biden stepped down. Like, he's been in politics for 50 years. And so to me, it's like a graceful surrender of the patriarchy, for lack of a better word, that he realized that he wanted to stay in it and do it, but that people had a different vision and that he was not the answer to that vision. And I think it took a lot for him to do that. But he set his ego aside and he continued with service by doing a whole different choice that no one could anticipate was going to happen just even a couple weeks before that. And by him making that choice, I think everybody was like, Biden, anything but what the alternative was going to be. And then he set himself aside, and it allowed for this whole different energy to be available and come forward. And everybody, instead of like grimly white knuckle voting for blue. Now it's this whole wave. Everybody has hope again. Everybody feels like there's a chance now. And the people that were just kind of grim and like, I'm just going to vote for this. It's not what I really want, but this is the course that I want to take us, has totally shifted. And I'm just totally amazed at going into the third week of this, and then the new person that got chosen to be the running mate, and how there's this wave happening in our country of people being hopeful again.
Like so
And
many
I
people
don't,
took a breath.
yeah, and there hasn't been a lot of hope since COVID. I mean, COVID, and then the administration that was there during that time, and slowly trying to step out of that towards another direction, and recognizing that we just can't walk backwards into the future. We have to turn and make this shift. And I feel like Joe Biden kind of energized that shift by the choice that he made. So yeah.
All right, great. Well, thanks for asking about that. We kind of dashed though, because we now have 2 questions, so we got to figure out what we can do here. All right. Thank you so much, Gregory. All right, let's see. So Delia is ready. So I don't know that we're gonna have time to answer both of them unless we happen to have some practitioners that want to stay for another 10, 15 minutes or so. So Delia, let's bring you up. Um, can you turn on your video? I'll bring you up here. I'm looking for where you are. Delia, for some reason I can't see you.
I may need to join from my other device. I think my settings are locking me out on my phone. So I'm terribly sorry about that.
I just gave you a request to turn on your video. Can you not turn it on?
Okay, I'm hitting that and going to my settings. Sorry for the
See
delay.
if it works. And just practitioners, does it work for anyone to stay a little bit late? We can jump to the other question and come back to this one. So we got a few that can. So Delia, I'll go to Susanna's question, and then if you need to, you can leave and come back in. Okay. Oh, she's coming back in on another device already.
That wasn't very good. Better?
Did
Sorry
you come
about
back
that.
in?
I am here.
Oh, okay, great. All right. You are here. All right. Great. So you wrote a bit about your question in the chat. Can you speak to your question now? I'm going to grab it.
Yeah, so I'm fairly new to the whole arena. I am hoping to learn about communication, spirit guides, realms, possible. I recently lost my fiance, so any connection and or information that'll be helpful for me.
And just you lost him and that your relationship ended, or did he pass? What?
He passed.
Yeah. Interesting. How recent was that?
Very. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah. Was he sick? Was he struggling with something, or is it really sudden?
The latter. So I've noticed myself, it really resonated with me when I believe it was Ashley may have said, like when you've had too much coffee and you're vibrating a little bit. I feel as though I'm having a spiritual awakening due to a traumatic experience. So along with that, I'd love to learn what I can.
I'm just gonna speak for a minute, maybe a little bit less like tuning in. This is not the same thing, but my mother recently passed away within the last few months as well. And so, what I noticed during that process is that one, you're absolutely right. grief is a really, if we, so we have our feelings of it and we feel all of the things. And if I'm like going to step outside of grief for a moment and look at it and be like, this is hugely fascinating, because it, for me at least, and it feels like for you, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, like the veils really come down and it's almost like being flipped inside out. And so I just want to recognize and honor your grief and the grief that you're in, and to say that it's okay to feel all of the things. And sometimes it can feel really ungrounded. And sometimes there's probably been like energies that might be visiting you. And was your fiance male or female or
Male.
male? Okay, because it feels, what it feels like to me is that he is reaching out and trying to connect to you, and you're really getting it. It feels like he's it's not a bad thing, but like there's a little bit of a block that's there, but it's coming more from him than you. So like he's coming through what he needs to come through, but he's almost there. And also sometimes in our grief, we feel so many things that it's hard for us to connect to them at the same time. And so it's okay. And I love the way that you're looking at this, about how you want to use it as like this sort of catapult, and like this is a human peak experience. And I've been shown over and over again, like when I look and feel into like, the death realms, and I've been having my process, I've been getting purified like in sort of the death realms, right? But death doesn't experience loss, but we as humans do. And it's okay to call it loss, because we have lost the person as they were, but they transition into something else. And it's like, how do we re-relate now in this space? And so I just want to honor you for this whole experience, and for just being in it the way that you are being in it. Because I just remember like looking up at the TV and it was off, and it was so loud. Like it's though, like things just can get really, really amplified. And so paying attention to that and just being with it and allowing the the organic process, because we truly know how to grieve. Our bodies are experts at grieving. And so trusting that process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Galactic Ashley. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Hi, Delia.
Hi.
So
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
bless you again, sister. So good to see you again. I asked separate about the fiance, not so much about him, but just about guides coming in, and was guided towards Ascended Masters. So I went and grabbed my Ascended Masters deck just to see what would pop out. And I had to kind of giggle when the Twin Flame card popped out. This card can be talking about it being a soulmate type relationship, which I'm getting chilled, yeah, with your partner. The other cards, there was a yes from Ganesh. This is about saying yes to opportunities that are coming your way and having persistence towards those dreams and those goals. You are being fully supported for everything that you are wishing for and dreaming for. So go after it. And he's with you. He's supporting you through this journey. And you're never alone. You're never alone.
Thank you.
Just one other comment about twin souls too, is that sometimes there's something in the way so that they can never be together in this physical life. So you were together and now you're not physically.
We had some lovely time.
I just know one thing that I hear as you share, and you're in your journey, you're being with your journey at the best that you know how. You have a really strong mind, as well as that you feel emotions so deeply. And right now you're feeling so many so deeply. And you're with us, you're here, you're on camera with us. So I want to honor that it may just be the space that you're in right now with us. It seems like you have big waves of feelings that come up, and then your mind is like, not now, and keeps closing them down. Do you have space to be with your feelings and to allow them to just flow? Like, are you not feel so overwhelmed?
Even the question puzzles me. I think that I'm so overwhelmed with emotion currently so often that even answering the question seems difficult, because I don't feel like I'm so in emotion so often currently that I don't feel as though there is a blockage there.
Have you done anything of like floating in water? Just letting yourself be in water?
I have not. I have gone down to the waterfront, but I haven't done a submersion.
Yeah, it seems like doing something to be in water, and it doesn't have to be cold water, but finding ideally like a hot springs out in nature or something like that. I really feel like being in water so that you have the flow of all the waves all around you, as if through you. It might really help.
Thank you. It's fun that you say that because I'm planning a trip to the hot springs with my friend.
Great. Yeah, so you
I've
might
never
like get
been
up really
before.
early. You might get up really early. I mean, after you know your way around and you feel safe enough in the space, you might get up really, really early when it's just barely light and be by yourself. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. Crystal.
Hi, Delia.
Hi.
Hi. I feel your rawness is what's coming across. Everything is just so raw. Because when we're in partnership with somebody like that, we have a vision of what the future is going to be, and this person's part of our future, and this is where I thought we were going to go, and all of a sudden it's like it's gone. And so it leaves us in a place of chaos and rawness and grief, like, okay, now what? Well, part of my identity was tied with this person, so who am I now? I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know what my next steps are. And that's okay. You don't need to know what your next steps are right now, because you're in a place of, like I said, of transformation. We talked, so I think it was Galactic Ashley talked earlier about the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. So you're not caterpillar anymore, but you're not butterfly yet. I call it the soup phase. So you're in the soup phase. The other thing that can be happening is when we have a loss to the amount that you're experiencing, is all the other things that we've had before that were losses and we didn't get an opportunity to grieve them, that those old emotions come up as well. So in addition to grieving your fiance, you might also take some time to look at other times in your life where you had a great loss. Maybe a beloved pet passed away, or you had to move to a new school and you lost all the people that you felt connected to. Your parents got divorced, a family member passed away. When you feel comfortable with it, I would encourage you to go back to those times of grief and release the grief. Just breathe it or ask the universe to help you lift it, but to bring your grief now into present time. Does that make sense?
Thank you. It does.
Okay. And you also might reassure your inner children, your inner kids, that you're not going anywhere, that you're there for them, and that you will take care of them. You're not going to disappear on them. Because when we're little and we have these grief things happen, these losses happen, our inner children sometimes are stuck back in that time. And so when another grief thing comes up, it's really hard for them. It freaks them out because they didn't have any closure on the old grief. And then the other part about asking about for your guides and connecting and stuff. I feel your fiance there with you, and he's like, "You've got this. I'm with you. I'm just not physically there to have contact with you, but I'm with you." And I see him turning and pointing to a very large energy behind him, almost saying like, "Hey, I want you to be open to this master that's here. There's loving energy available for you. Just because I can't be with you in the physical doesn't mean that you still can't experience a loving connection to source."
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There's one thing Galactic Ashley mentioned in the chat too. I was going to say, is there are things called float tanks? So you could be in a float tank here too when you're not at hot springs.
Thank you.
Siren, did you want to share something?
When Crystal mentioned the what sounded to me like you said Uranus energy, and what I started nodding, but you were talking about something differently, but I was envisioning and feeling the energy of Uranus being massive change and transformation. So I heard it differently than what she said, but I was feeling that this experience of massive transition and transformation and change is a time to dive into, through various layers, what and who you are. And you have so much support with you through this exploration to discover what's next. And it feels, how did you describe it? As awakening through, did you say shock?
I think I said through trauma. Yeah. So
Through trauma.
yeah. So I see things so differently now. None of my questions are going to be about tangibles, because the tangibles just don't hold the same value.
Right. Yeah, I want to thank you for sharing your experience, and I just feel this as a massive potential to transform into what's next for you.
Thanks. Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you were on earlier. This will get posted online, so if you want, you can go back and hear the recording. There was a question earlier about 3D to 5D and that transition and what that's about and what happens, and yeah, is it sudden, is it gradual?
Helpful.
And it just seems like you move through different dimensions very quickly, like different awareness or context very quickly. It can be very disorienting.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else for Delia? Delia, is there anything else you want to say or ask? Crystal has
Are
something
you
else.
comfortable?
Oh, Galactic
Sorry,
Ashes too.
Crystal, you can go. This is just one very quick question. Are you comfortable sharing his name with us?
Oh, his name is Ifanye.
Ifanye?
With it, not a yay, with a ye.
Okay.
Ifanye.
Okay, it's a beautiful name. Thank you. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Crystal.
Yeah.
I also getting that you get there's a lot of communication happening for you when you're asleep. There's a lot of dialogue happening and a lot of communication and a lot of forging of connection to the guides and masters that want to walk with you and be with you. I don't know if you remember your dreams or not. I don't know if you have a dream journal or anything. But yeah.
I'm practicing. So if you've got any tips on, I think I think I might be waking up at the wrong time to remember, I think I remember my dreams if I'm interrupted. And that's not always happening.
Some of it you're not going to remember because it's bypassing the mind and it's going deep within you. And the way this shows up sometimes is it's almost like these packages that are there, and when you get to the next point, they open, and then you get the next piece, and then you keep going, and then they're like downloads, and they open, and then you get the next step. I have a friend that if they have a dream and they kind of wake up at night, they grab their cell phone and just say a couple words about what they remember about the dream, and then they go back to sleep. And then the next day they look at it and it prompts them to be able to remember what it was. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on for you. And I would encourage you to be gentle with yourself.
Say it
And
twice.
be gentle
So I
with
listen.
yourself.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And take the time to just, everybody hates the word process, but it's a process. And it unfolds in different ways. So in the moments when you're not experiencing overwhelming loss or grief, it's like it comes in and then it flows back out. It comes in and it flows back out. So when it flows back out, just remember to continue to breathe. And as it ebbs back out, you can potentially focus on what was the message that was there that I couldn't quite hear because I was so overcome with that grief when that came in. But as I let it go and it ebbed back out, because emotions come and go, and grief and loss will come and go. So at first we feel vastly overwhelmed. As time progresses and we become okay, just lost it. As we become more
It'll just be acclimation, won't it?
Thank you. That's exactly the word. As we become
Yeah.
acclimated. So what I'm getting is when there's the part where it stops, then that's a part where that's a time where you can just stop and say, where am I right now? What's happening for me right now? What got uncovered after that last wave that came in? What was it about? What was I feeling, hearing? And it's weird. It's like a grief journal. But I think you'll get a lot of information by doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
Of
Galactic
course.
Ashley had to take off, but she said definitely a dream journal. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah, blessings and self-love. And if you have spaciousness with your sleeping right now, you can always just play too with setting an alarm and seeing if, setting alarm at different times and seeing if you can wake you up dreaming and
Nice
just play
thought.
with that. And I say my partner lost her husband in an accident very suddenly, and it's almost been 20 years now. And it's just been a big, big journey. And I just include him here as part of the relationship. So he's here with us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delia. Thank you for sharing yourself.
I'm so glad you made it, Delia.
Oh, me too. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Galactic Ashley had to take off, so I'll make sure to share her info at the end. And Susanna, did you want to jump in and ask your question? All right, I think you're now up at the front, maybe.
Oh, shoot. How do I get? Yeah, I'm just in a lot of turmoil. I have let's see. Yeah. Okay.
It's up to you if you want to be on screen.
I
You
don't
have to
know
get
if
in
it's
front
gonna.
of the camera, I think, since you have a background, but you don't have to. There you are. We got you a little bit.
I'm in the dark. Yeah, I have a turmoil type experience where I live, and my neighbors are currently harassing me horribly, and they're in my house. they are terrible, you know, they're breaking things and they're doing bad things and tracking me and all kinds of things. And so my house is up for sale, but I have no buyer. And I'm just feeling like I'm in a bardo state, and I've done a lot of work around it. But it's just so challenging. It doesn't stop. And I've reported it, and there's just not a lot I can do. And I've accessed like the flow of love. I've also done the Harry Potter experience with them, and you know, I can work my light work with them. And I just got done doing a lot of big work for them, with them. And but I'm really at an edge right now. And I need to go. It's like I need to move, and but I feel I need to stay with the house to keep it safe. So that's my question of to go. Is there any information on any kind of input is helpful? I appreciate it.
What word did you just say? I have to what the house to keep it safe?
I have to stay here to keep it safe, but it doesn't help because they're still, I mean, they're taking it apart a little at a time. And I've put a lot of money into it. And yeah, they just, again, they're able to come in when I'm gone, and I have Wi-Fi cameras, which they jam, and so I have no video of them, but I know they're coming in by different things. And I'm only gone like half, like in the morning. But when I woke up today, both of the doors were unlocked. So
And I
I've
just want to
changed a lot.
mention, and I want to mention too,
changed-
you had another part of your question. It would probably be great if you shared that now too. So if anyone wanted to, they could speak to that as well. Do you want us to speak to that also?
Yeah, about what should I do with my house? You know, should I leave it and rent it, or should I continue to try to sell it? And then my new location, or a new location, if there's any information about where is my best next place.
I know it impacted me a lot when you said that you feel like you need to stay to take care of the house. It just immediately
feel
made
like-
me think about, yeah, like you being a little kid taking care of a parent.
I know, but if I go, they're just gonna tear it up. But they're already tearing it up, so I'm like damned if I do, damned if I don't. Like if I'm even reporting it, I feel like I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. You know, just in a not a good space.
Hey, go ahead. Tiffany wanted to jump in. Go ahead, Tiffany, if you want to.
All right, I'm talking to myself over here. I wasn't necessarily like, I do have stuff to say, but I was still kind of getting messages. I first asked if it was in your highest good to leave, and it was a yes, but your house may not sell fast enough for your own comfort, which would be, you know, staying there. And then you presented the option about renting it out. I felt very positive about that, like renting it out to somebody else and keep good security outside so that, you know, you can see anyone approaching. There's got to be a way to document these people if they're physically tampering with your house and physically going in and entering. That is a crime. There's got to be a way to catch them at this. But while you're stuck there, one of the questions that come to me, and I don't want it to come off offensive, but why am I a vibrational match for this? Is something you've got to ask yourself. What is it within you that is a vibrational match for what's happening? And when you transcend that vibration and you rise above that vibration and disengage from the storylines with them, I can't say that they'll stop, but you'll feel better about it. You'll have more peace within yourself if you can rise above it and see there's a storyline playing here and it's coming in from somewhere, and it's not just right now. Something from your past, whether it be past lives that are bleeding into the current life, but all of that is a factor in what's happening right now. I might have more to say in a minute, but
Thank you. Yeah, I do quite a bit of soul work and Akashic record work with them. I know this is like so parallel to growing up um, in this lifetime. So that's, I've done a lot of, I mean, I just continually do a lot of work, and like today I'm falling apart. Like right now I'm falling apart. But this morning when I woke up after doing a lot of work, I just felt like, why am I putting up with this? You know, why am I felt separated out from what was happening. So I have my times when I'm basically not affected by it, and I have my other times where it's just I'm just done.
so can I suggest a couple things, and you're probably familiar with this already, is just tuning into what your vibration is daily, checking for, the psychic energy that's coming from them, and just clearing it off you right away. Cut cords with them every day. Every time you think about them, cut cords with them and say, I'm not accepting this energy. Remove it now. You have that power. Get rid of it. Step into your power and don't let any of those energies continue to impact how you're navigating what's going on, because it's also going to impact the sale of your home too, the vibration going on there. So maybe even looking at a clearing around the property, or looking for, do the neighbors have some entities that are causing them to act this way? And, that's a factor too. If they're galactic in nature, I can take a look at that here in a minute and let somebody else talk and then come back and tell you what I see.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the dark ships when I first started really being aware. And I've only been here like 8 months, so yeah, no, I hear you. Thank you.
On the physical plane, borrow your friend's big dog.
Pardon?
I'm teasing, but on the physical plane, borrow your friend's big dog.
I have big dogs.
What have your dogs said? Because do you leave them
Pardon?
home when you go in the morning?
No, they come with.
I think it's
have-
leave them
I have-
home. Well,
I have anxious dogs, so I can have one dog tear up the house because she's really anxious, and yeah. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. It was like, oh, I should see if I can break her out of her anxious self. But I take them for a walk in the morning. It's
cool. I
that's
was
what I do
thinking,
with.
yeah, and I was thinking rental market too before you said that. What is the rental market like there, and how quickly could you get it rented?
Possibly better than selling it. Like in the spring, it was like no houses were for sale, or very few. And now there's like 20 in my price range. There's 20, and I'm like, oh, they just continue to get on the market. And so I know people are dropping those. So, but I know if I drop my price, I can't get where I need to go, or I can, but different,
Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead. If someone has something to share, go ahead and jump in. Crystal?
I feel like there's a lot happening here. As I'm sitting here looking at this, I'm getting bombardment from a psychic level to not look at this. I'm getting somebody's trying to jam me from looking at this. There is very heavy energy in your third, second, and first chakra. You can also make a covenant with your home. That's something you can do. Houses are built with intent. They want to be occupied. So you can make a covenant. You can talk to your house. That's another thing you can do. But additionally, I also feel that this is a reflection, which is what Tiffany, I believe, was saying earlier, of an experience that you've had all your life about people not respecting your boundaries, living in a state of fear, And then there's just so much fear. And then there's anger. Fear comes before anger, but then there's anger as well. Like, why is this happening to me? And feeling like you're being punished. Like there's almost sort of a victim stance here about, I can't get out of this, or there's nothing I can do, or, so you say you've contacted the police?
Yes.
Okay, so when and what have they done?
They have a report, but they also, it's a meth lab next door too. So that's what I'm hoping that they'll take down first, or yeah, there's a lot of energy here.
Yeah. And the other thing is you can
And
you can put different locks on your doors. You can put a massive deadbolt. You can take a piece of wood and like put some fasteners in the wall or into the frame and like drop a board in there every time so they can't come through the door if they're picking your lock, however they're getting in.
Yeah, I've changed the locks. We've got I put new doors, new windows in.
Yeah.
And they put new locks in, and then I put new locks in after that. It just continues. I have my back door barred now, with heavy things on it. But this is crazy. But
And the other thought is, do you have someone who can stay at the house while you're not there? Do you have a friend that maybe works from home and can stay at your house?
I haven't really connected with anybody here, even though it's an old area for me that I've been here before. I've been in the country before, and I know people in the area, but I don't know anybody. I've not made any major connections here. Again, to do that. So I hear you there. I wish I did. I don't have that ability. And it's not just me being harassed. I mean, the whole neighborhood gets harassed by these people. The whole neighborhood, or in this immediate area, has things happen to their cars and to their houses. And
Have you contacted your city council? Have you contacted the mayor? Have you contacted
well,
anybody else?
I did. Yeah, I connected with the mayor, who put me over to the city manager, who turned it over to the police. And then I've heard the police really don't do things, and that was years ago. So I don't know. I have a lot of different inputs on that. So they're known to not really do anything.
So yeah, so I'll let Tiffany address this because she looks like she has something else to say, and I'll step back for a moment here.
Thank you.
I don't mind waiting, but so what I found was that 2 of the occupants in the house next to you had some form of demon attached to them. These particular types of entities are not they're not from Earth. So according to the cosmic law of one, we don't need those people's permission for those particular types. I called in an Andromedan team and they removed them. Then I checked your property and there were some ghosts walking around. I call them ancient ghosts, meaning that they're really old. They're not like a deceased person from within the last 100 years. They're like thousands of years old. And there's a different galactic team that comes in and takes those ones. And they're a gray form from Orion, but they're benevolent. So they came in and took that. There was also a curse placed on you, and I went ahead and removed that, balanced your energy as Crystal was talking, since she mentioned your energy. So I just went ahead and did that. I also did a quick karma clearing around this whole situation. I had full body chills up arms and legs, so I feel like that should help. I can't say that it'll resolve things, because if you've got people that are addicted to substances nearby, they're not themselves right now. And we can't expect them to behave, given that they're on substances. So, I mean, I hope that that helps, but feel free to reach out if you want more help. I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Yeah, I can feel what you just said. I feel lighter, totally. I did a clearing earlier today, and I can recall it. Well, I had like a really heavy duty sick feeling in the house. And I'm like, oh God, it was a whole bunch of beings in the house. And when I got done with the clearing work, somebody came in, it was a being or an entity came in. My dog alerted to it. It walked right in and it walked right out, and I could hear a door close. So I was like, okay,
There's an
something
open
moved.
portal. There's an open portal
Yeah,
in your house, and I'm closing it right now. Because
thank
they
you.
shouldn't be able to walk in like that. And I'm thinking that the persons next door, while under the influence from darker spirits, opened that to influence you. Because, you know, people who are really strung out on different substances are like an adult toddler. If you tell them no, they're going to get extremely angry with you. And all it takes is them thinking nasty thoughts about you while they're in a low vibe, and that energy is being sent. So just keep checking yourself every day and clearing that off. And there's not a whole lot you can do as far as the substances. But I like what Crystal was saying about the mayor, or go above the police. The police can only do so much. Their hands are tied. So we've got to do something above them without becoming an outright vigilante, you know.
Right. Well, I've been looking at a crossbow pistol, which I don't have a gun. Then I was thinking today, oh, like I could construct some electric fencing, or maybe I should go get a gun, but I don't believe in that. But
You know, one
I,
thing in
that's what I feel like. That's what I feel like I need, and it's like,
I
oh,
keep
this is
spray next to my bed, and that stuff shoots like 30 feet. You don't have to have a
what is
fire to, you know,
what is it?
bear spray. It's like bee spray or bear spray.
Yeah.
Just go look at the different pest sprays that shoot like 30 feet. I mean, obviously, if someone's breaking into your home with the intent of harm, you're not going to care that you sprayed them in the eyes with something that burns.
I think, yeah, no, yeah, and I hear you. They don't come in when I'm home that I know of. So.
As you were sharing, I was thinking about salt, and I was just looking some stuff up, and black salt. Maybe something to explore too in terms of different cleansing rituals that you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, black
Thank
salt,
you.
protection spells, banishing negativity, hex breaking, cleansing, and purification.
Thank
You
you.
can also just keep praying platinum light over your property.
Platinum. Okay.
Crystal.
Okay.
And there's also Archangel Michael. You can call in the
Yeah, I
angel.
did.
You can put salt around your
I
house.
did. Yeah. I
Salt.
think I'll do the electric fence.
I would,
The electric fence. Yeah.
I would actually electrify your doorknobs is what I would do.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So there's that. But then the whole other piece all the way down below all of this is you need to do some inner shadow work about how your boundaries were never respected when you were a child, and there was abuse and you were traumatized. Yes?
Yes, I've been working on this for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, no, I'm on a continuum of, working.
Right.
But
So
I'm worn down now. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's part of the problem is when we have a level of trauma, parts of our consciousness aspects get stuck, like when you find amber with a fossilized insect inside of it. We get stuck back in that time period, and it's necessary to go back and go get our little parts at different ages and bring them home into present time. And we have to become our own parent and reparent ourselves in a way to help heal that our inner children, or the parts that got waylaid and there was no respect, there was no boundaries, there was yeah. And you are also such a big healer that you're like a big snack for anything that's out there that wants to latch onto you and drain all that energy. So it's imperative that you cleanse yourself, not just once a day, but whenever you think about it. Run that white light over your head, bring it down, let it swirl through your space, let it pick up any debris, move it all the way through. Don't forget your back, your spine, everything, chakras, everything. Just hold that thought that I'm cleansing, I'm releasing that which no longer serves or doesn't belong to me, and goes out through the bottoms of your feet. You can go around and do ritual stuff within your home on all your windows and doors. There's different things that you can do, but this just feels like, this is going to sound kind of negative, but this is an opportunity. And this is happening. You're wondering like what this is about. This is an opportunity for you to do some really deep work so you can reclaim yourself back and not feel so helpless. There's just this feeling of always feeling helpless.
Yeah, and I definitely felt when I first, again, when I looked at it like that, it was like, oh, I need to be rescued.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
it's so big, you know, and it's like I'm a rescuer. And so, you know, having that dynamic of needing that. So I feel like I've processed a lot of it. I'm just wiped out. You know, I've done big work around this.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, this is, can I be done now? I just
like
want to be done. I'm like, okay, I've had enough. You know, this is, and I had the same type of incident in New Mexico. And so it
I feel
was,
like it wouldn't be good to just talk about it as the previous situation again, because I feel like it's continuing to run the energy of it.
but
And
it's
Chris,
all
jump in if you want to keep going. I feel like it's you need to get in touch with your healthy anger and your power. That's the way out of this, and going to other people above the police is stepping into that more. It's good that you already spoke to the city manager, etc. And it's time to go back and not accept their no or their lack of response. While you're not fighting at the same time, but it's from a stand. And a way to look at it too is that the house is of service to you in healing these lessons. So while Crystal was suggesting having light go around you, I was seeing you also could have the light go around the house and the property. Although know that you're not responsible for caring for that house. That house is available to be of service. And it's of service to you now in learning these lessons. And as you hand it off to someone else at some point, it will be of service to them in the same way. Their own lessons. You don't have to care for the house.
Well, if I want any money out of it.
Well, but
you know, it's like,
you're
oh,
not responsible
I
to
just
stay
walk
there
away.
and to sacrifice and to suffer so that the house is okay.
Okay.
The house is representing you. You've been picked at and whittled at and been violated, just like it's happening. The house is a reflection of you. And you went to the authorities, just like when you were probably a child, you tried to go to some authority and you weren't heard. They just passed you off to somebody else. And one other thought is start a neighborhood watch. Go to your other neighbors, get them to write down license plate numbers, what time these cars were there.
They won't touch it. They won't touch it. They won't touch it. They've already been, you know, whatever is happening, they won't touch it.
Find out who owns that house.
Well, I know who owns that house, but she's dying. She's in a dying process. So she's elderly.
It's a what process?
She's in a dying process.
Okay. So find out who this person is. They own the property. There's got to be legal recourse to put pressure on the property owner for what is happening. And if she's dying, then it'll probably have to be whoever a family member is, but you've got different avenues to exert pressure. And Tiffany did.
The family members are the people, are the problem.
Okay. Okay.
And there's a lot of them. It's multi-generational, it's multi-level.
So you're looking at a whole legacy burden that exists next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Tiffany did amazing work, what she just did. I mean, I could totally see that and feel that, and it did a lot of good work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So part of it is you opening to receive that, to allow that some things could have cleared.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel it. Definitely feel it. Thank you. I was hoping to buy another house, but I guess I won't.
It's
Just
So-
stay open.
these are steps now. It doesn't mean that
Uh-huh.
you won't be moving.
Right.
And don't put that in your okay, but the only word that comes is craw. Don't stick with that you won't get another house or that you won't be able to do this. No, because you're manifesting the opposite of what you want. Hold space for the vision that you do want and just stay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate everyone's input
Yeah,
and sharing
and I
work.
guess
Big time.
a way to you know how you take care of your dogs? The care that you bring to take care of your dogs. I'm just using that as an example. Does that make sense to you?
Uh-huh.
So, you know, the care that you give to your dogs, you want to sort of imagine you over you and you bringing that care to you. You know, and just as you're holding kind of a healthy boundary of space for your dogs, like you holding this over you too. No, you can't get in.
Thank you. Yes, I work that as well. But yeah, I'll continue. And I'll call somebody tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bless you
Thanks
all.
for staying later.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, a couple people had to take off. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here on the panel tonight. So I'm going to have Crystal and Tiffany introduce themselves again, and I'll share the information on the other people that had to take off. The panel has been recorded and it's going to go on our YouTube channel. Putting the link of that in the chat right now. You can just search for MeWe Fairs in YouTube and you should find all of our videos. Yeah, so Crystal and Tiffany, go ahead and tell us about who you are, where people can get in touch with you, and all those things.
Well, if you've been here for the evening, then you've had a good sample of who I am and what I do. So, I mean, we all come up with titles and say stuff about what we do and how we do it. But that's just so we can have some way to describe what we do, because it's difficult to describe what we do. Sometimes it goes beyond words. So if you felt good with what you experienced by what I offered this evening, then my contact information is here in the chat. You can go to my website, or you can also contact me through my email address.
And it's important to say them so people in the video later
Okay.
watching you can find you.
So my website is openheartpathllc.com. My Gmail is openheartpathllc@gmail.com. And somebody, I don't know if you're still here in the audience, somebody mentioned about see you in Anacortes. I will be at the MeWe Fair in Anacortes this Saturday and Sunday. If you happen to be in the area and you want to come by. So I appreciate that I got the ability to be here this evening and share what came for me. And I hope it served the people that were listening, as well as the person who came and asked the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Tiffany.
Hey everybody, Intuitive Tiffany Rose. I do a lot more than what you've seen tonight. Some of my sessions go pretty deep into, karmic healings, clearings, curses, entities, chakras, all that good stuff, but galactic astrology too. Those galactic astrology sessions are so much fun. You get to see kind of your soul origin. You get to see which groups are supporting you off-world right now, which groups you've been a part of, and lessons coming in from each of those groups. Also, Earth past lives, galactic past lives, pretty much anything you want to know at this point, open channel. You can reach me at intuitivetiffanyRose.com. There's also Facebook, Intuitive Tiffany Rose. The email is intuitivecoachtiffanyRose@outlook.com. I know it's really long. I'm sorry. Hope to see you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
got a special. Do you want to say what your special is?
Oh yeah. I'm running a special for the Lionsgate, and because it's my birthday and it's just fun, 20% off any reading. There's some $100 readings on there, like few hundred, so you get 20% off the whole thing if you book any of those by tomorrow night. So we're going with the Lionsgate 8/8 at midnight.
Great. Another subject line, and that's in the chat.
You can
What's the
email me
subject
subject line MeWe Lionsgate to get your discount.
That's great. And Siren Wind was with us tonight. So Siren Wind does sound, tone, frequency, light code, language activating, and intergalactic energy healing sessions, makes art, and has all kinds of tools. They are at intergalacticenergyhealing.com, sirenwind@gmail.com. And they're special for the Lionsgate. For a limited time, there are over 60 Arcturian light language frequency digital downloads. You can buy them each for only $9.99. That's $9.99. These high quality images can be created into prints any size in your space. There are also 2 frequency meditation downloads that are on special. And then the sessions are 15% off for a 1-hour frequency, sound, tone, and light activation session. And there are links for all that in the chat. They're on their website. And then Galactic Ashley was also here tonight. GalacticAshley.com does galactic energy activations, star family readings, light language healings, and also now plant medicine preparation ceremonies and integration. So info at galacticashley.com. And their information's in the chat as well. Let me get I just put Siren. Let me put Galactic Ashley freshly right there. Galactic Ashley is redoing a bunch of stuff on her website and has a course coming up too, I know. And I'm Lorelei Schmayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. You can find out more about my eye readings at intuitiveeyereading.com. The archetypes that I described tonight and many more at thrivetypes.com. And you can find out about all of our upcoming events at MeWeFairs.com. I mentioned we have panels coming, and some of the upcoming panels. Monday, August 26th, we have Healing in Nature. Wednesday, September 4, we have Quantum Healing Panel. Tuesday, September 10, Rising from the Ashes. Thursday, September 26th, Sound Healing. Tuesday, October 1, Imposter Syndrome. Wednesday, October 9, Overcoming Adversity. Sunday, October 13, Ascension Symptoms and the Great Awakening. And Tuesday, November 12, Neurodiversity and Healing Spaces, Tapping Intuitive Gifts and DEI. All those are free to attend, just like tonight. We also have an online fair on August 24 from, I think, 5 to 9 p.m. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. We appreciate it deeply. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you, panelists. And thank you for doing this all together. All right.
Real quick, another skate thing tomorrow. Go onto my Facebook and you can join. There's a guided meditation. It's free.
And your website is intuitivetiffanyrose.com. Thanks, everyone.